His Secret Baby. A Bad Boy Billionaire Romance. By Michelle Love.
Chapter 1. Marina.
The nightmares come just when they always do. It's 5 in the morning, and I find myself once again sitting up shaking as chills of terror rack my body. I press my fist against my lips reflexively, stifling a scream so that it comes out only as a tiny squeak. For a few moments I ball up, face between my knees, shivering. But then the sweet spicy smell of scented candles brings me back to reality. I look around as I catch my breath. I'm in my room, in my home, safe. The vast chamber is empty except for me. The polished brass of my bedframe gleams in the moonlight spilling through my bedroom windows. Everything is still, peaceful. But I'm bathed in cold sweat, and my chest hurts from how hard my heart is beating. And yet I can't remember anything about the dream that put me into such a state. Crap. Again. I wrap the wool comforter closer around me and huddle under it, breathing deeply until the shaking stops. This happens at least a few times a week, but I've never managed to get used to it, even after 5 years. These dreams have been haunting me since James Shea, my father, died. Seething with frustration over my interrupted sleep, and the terror I can't do anything about, I get up and change into a sports bra and yoga pants. At least this time, I manage not to scream aloud and wake up Uncle Bradley. Uncle Bradley is another fixture of the last 5 years. He moved in right after Father's murder, and I've been living with him ever since. I don't technically need a guardian anymore, but after 5 years, I've gotten pretty used to having him around. It was a real comfort at first, and a necessity, as I was only 15 when he volunteered to be my legal guardian. It's a little awkward now that I'm a grown woman, but he insists on keeping an eye on me. If I scream too loud, his tall, chubby form will come shoving through my doorway, never knocking, his robe flapping around him and his small gray eyes focused on me like lasers. It's a good thing I've never felt inclined to start sleeping in anything sensual, or to bring a boyfriend home. That would definitely make everything even more awkward, especially considering Uncle Bradley's nosiness. He always wants to know everything that I'm doing, but I forgive him because I know damn well why he's so overprotective. He's the one who had to come home and break the news to me after that assassin sabotaged my dad's car. He's the one who helped me get through it all, even when the trauma left my memories in tatters. We're the only members of the family left now that Mom's left the country, and I know he worries about losing me too. I'm really not sure what I would have done without him, so I don't mind a little intrusiveness. But not when I'm trying to sleep. I unroll my exercise mat over the muted pink and green carpet and start my stretches. Sometimes yoga can help me relax enough to fall back to sleep. If that doesn't work, I'll go straight to combat practice so I don't waste any time. I've always been pretty athletic, but I didn't start intensive training until after Dad died. I knew basic self-defense and had practiced yoga since I was 12, but I didn't start learning Kali until the moment I stood at his graveside, back when I made my most important promise. Uncle Bradley's shown me the evidence, Father. I know your death wasn't an accident. I'll find the man that sabotaged your car, and I'll bring him down. I swear, Daddy, I'm going to send him wherever you are so you can personally kick his pretty Italian ass every day of the afterlife. It's harder to get in a good session without my practice dummy, but I know better than to drag it out of my closet right now. The grunts and thuds will bring Bradley out of a sound sleep. He's a strange guy, Uncle Bradley. He's kind but smothering, protective but disinterested in the details of my life. He's also supportive of my efforts to avenge his brother, but is weirdly unwilling to understand my need to get fighting fit before I face my father's murderer. Striking out at open air, shadow boxing in the scant moonlight shining on my wall through the windows, I think hard about Armand Rossini. About how I'm going to destroy him. Armand Rossini is a man who's been on my mind almost constantly for the last 5 years. The unusually handsome garage attendant first caught my eye when Dad brought his blue Mercedes in for maintenance, but he has my attention now for a much different reason. He was the one who worked on Dad's car. It was that same car that Dad was driving up the mountain alone, fresh from the garage, when the brakes suddenly gave. We sued the garage and demanded all the information they had on their new employee, who had suddenly disappeared after the accident. Everything the garage had turned out to be false. He was the one. Uncle Bradley confirmed it. Rossini wasn't a mechanic at all, but one of Interpol's most wanted, a killer for hire who specialized in sabotage. I remember that moment when I first saw Rossini. I was 15 and full of hormones, and when I glimpsed his dark curls shining in the sun and the white flash of his grin as he talked to a coworker, I thought he was the most beautiful man I had ever seen. For a moment he turned his dancing black eyes to me, and I felt like I was falling into their warm depths. The crush was instant and so powerful that I had my first steamy dream that night. I woke flustered and warm but smiling. I daydreamed about him until the night I found out what he had done. I've hated myself for a long time for that stupid crush. I still feel like a fool for it, especially because I've never been able to get those dreams to go away. Over the years, I've learned to distract myself by planning my father's revenge. I knew early on that it had to be me. Between his heart condition and his growing alcoholism, Uncle Bradley can't handle the problem directly. And no one else will help us outside Bradley's web of bribed contacts. The police won't believe us. The FBI and Interpol will do nothing with the lead, even though they've both been chasing Rossini for almost 2 decades, because they have never been able to prove exactly what happened. When I made that oath over my father's grave, it was because there was no one else left to seek justice for his death. I tested out of high school and started training. I learned to hack, cracking passwords and mining for information online. I learned Italian, Spanish, and Portuguese, as they were all languages that Rossini was fluent in, along with English. Every scrap of information about him that Uncle Bradley passed on to me, I found a way to use in my training. Now, as I work my way through a series of strikes with my practice knife, the only thing breaking the silence are my soft gasps for air. I won't wake him. He has no idea how long and hard I practice, or how good I've gotten. Nobody does. The most powerful thing about a secret weapon is that it's a secret. I felt like a ridiculous klutz for the first 6 months of practicing. By a year in, I developed a competent grasp of the basics, but I didn't start feeling confident about my combat skills until 3 months ago though, when I finally managed to disarm my instructor. Oberst called it a lucky shot, but I saw the frustration in his face as he picked up his practice sword. I'm glad. He was the one who told me I wouldn't take this seriously enough. I swore he'd eat his words. Now he has. Now I need to make sure that I strip Armand Rossini of more than just his weapon. I guess I shouldn't have expected I'd be able to sleep a full night. After all, today is the day that my uncle finally found Armand. According to our information, he's been holed up in an ancient, partly refurbished plantation house in Georgia. My packed bags wait beside my bed. Our pilot will be flying me out to Atlanta in the morning, where I'll grab a rental car. I'll reach his area before sunset and start scouting. The prospect of taking a human life makes me sick to my stomach, especially if I get caught. I don't want to go to jail, and I don't want to stain my hands with human blood either. But not even our vast amounts of money have been able to buy justice from law enforcement. So now I'm going to Georgia to hunt it for myself.
Chapter 2. Armand.
She left the airport at 8 this morning. She'll be in your area by early afternoon. The man on the phone is using a cheap voice disguiser that does nothing to hide his identity from a trained ear. But I play along with his game of anonymity, even as disgust at his cowardice turns my stomach. I was having a lovely morning, until this pig called me up with his kill order. What the hell did you do, Stronzo? I snap. I told you that we're done, now that you've broken our agreement. I refuse to hurt that innocent girl for you. A low chuckle punctuates the silence on the other end of the line. Oh, I think you will, considering she's a material witness against you and now knows where you live. You won't have a choice when she shows up on your doorstep. It's been this way for 5 years. Ever since I put an end to that beast James Shea, the man who hired me keeps pestering me about the rest of the work that he'd ordered. I agreed to both hits initially, hoping he was hiring me to take out both Shea and his unnamed partner. But then I discovered that the second target was someone else, and killing that someone would go against the guidelines that I gave that jerk the moment I agreed to the job. There's always a choice, I reply flatly, and listen to the way his high titter of amusement is distorted by the low-tone disguiser. A man like me has to have a personal code, or he'll go crazy really fast. My code says no innocents and no kids. Marina Shea, daughter of James, and the only person involved in the hit who saw my face, would already be dead if it wasn't for my code. She was a witness, after all. But the man on the phone wants her dead for his own reasons. It makes me absolutely sick. This waste of skin should know better than to test me on an ironclad promise. I refused to complete the job, even wired him 2/3 of his money back. It's not like I need it. But this guy just won't let it go. Oh, come now, Armand. You're wanted in 10 countries. Your ridiculous code won't keep you alive if the girl or I decide to take you down, and you know it. So just say, yes sir, finish your kill list, and then you'll never hear from me again. I was trying to be kind before now, for the sake of the girl. I should have just tracked him down and put a bullet in him for trying to con me into spilling innocent blood. James Shea was in no way innocent. But his daughter? I still remember her at 15, cute and a little gawky, too young for beauty. Coffee-colored hair, big innocent green eyes. She stared at me whenever she thought I wasn't looking, with a wide-eyed, dazzled smile that was charming and awkward at once. Yes, you're cute. You're far too innocent for me. Bye now. She looked at me like I hung the moon. Me, who was about to arrange for her father's untimely but completely deserved death. The irony makes my stomach clench whenever I think about it. I've never felt so guilty about killing a monster before. I looked at her then, so young and sweet, and thought to myself what a shame it was that she had no idea what her father was. One of the reasons I choose my assignments so carefully, now that I'm wealthy enough to have that luxury, is because I know that when I kill, I don't just end one person. I hurt those close to them too. We all do. Assassins, soldiers, executioners, any cop who pulls the trigger instead of bringing someone in alive. We don't just kill one individual. We wound families. So I am very careful who I target. I understand that you are sending the girl to an address that you believe is connected to me. But I also know that I have 5 current addresses in the United States alone, and that it will take a tremendous stroke of luck for your investigators to determine which one I'm occupying. I pause to let this sink in and pour myself a touch more champagne. I drop a frozen strawberry into it. Georgia heat has me parched. The creep found the right hideout completely by chance, and now he's sending his second target to my doorstep with a gun and a vendetta. Furious little Merina doesn't know what her father did, or why I agreed to get rid of him. And so she hates me and wants me dead. I wish I could tell her the truth about everything, but she'd never believe me. I look out over the rolling lawn toward the palmettos that border my backyard. What the hell should I do? You're bluffing, he grumbles, but I hear the shake in his voice and know I have put some doubt in him. Good. If I'm lucky, he'll call the girl home. If I'm not, I'll have a problem on my hands that I'll have to deal with one way or another. Between the two of us, I am the more experienced and skilled in these matters. You may be wealthy and have some clever people on your payroll, but that simply isn't enough. The girl will find nothing but an empty house. I hear his hard breathing and realize that I've pissed him off. Good. If he's angry, he's even more likely to make a stupid mistake. But then I hear a beep from the laptop that lies open on the desk in front of me. It's from a blind email address and contains a single file. I check it, then open it and freeze, staring at my screen. The man on the phone just sent me a photo of Marina taken a week ago. Now I've got 2 reasons to refuse to kill her. Oh gosh. The cute little teen who I felt sorry for on that fateful day so many years ago has grown up, filled out, and gotten stacked. Her frizzy brown hair now falls in sleek waves, her green eyes are lined with black, and full lips are painted a dark blood red. The black sweater, jeans, and leather jacket are supposed to make her look tough, but the denim clings to her sculpted powerful thighs and lush hips in a way I can't ignore. The voice on the phone is barking threats while I'm staring at the photo of woman he wants dead, and wondering if there's any chance at all that I can convince her to stop hating me. I could just tell her the truth. Another long silence. What truth? He splutters. You've been checking up on me, I say quietly, without revealing a bit of what I have actually learned. I have also been checking up on you. You know as well as I do that the girl is aware that someone hired me. What would happen if she found out that it was you? She'll never believe you, he stammers quickly. Never. I have her twined around my finger and had her for years. You'll have to get rid of her to save yourself. We'll see, I think as he hangs up in my ear. He's just made the mistake of pissing off Armand for the final time. The girl's life is in no danger at all, unless I have no other choice. But the man who sent her, his days are numbered.
Chapter 3. Marina.
Yeah, Uncle Bradley, I made it to Atlanta just fine and I checked in at the hotel. I flopped back onto the gold satin bedspread of the 2 posh room Bradley arranged and heave an enormous sigh. I'll be scouting the address tonight. Careful, sweetheart, don't go in too tired. Davy's already told me what rough weather you had on the flight from Denver. His voice is warm and kind, but with a warning in it. I'll get a meal and a nap in first. And a shower. The 3-hour flight from Denver didn't bother me much, even with all its turbulence. Atlanta traffic in a suddenly balmy 65 degrees, while still half-dressed for Colorado winter, was 45 minutes of stifling stop-and-go hell. My body, used to shivering its way through every walk outside, is now dehydrated and sticky. Very well. Let me know when you get back. I'll be waiting for your call, dear. He hangs up the phone, leaving me sitting there a moment with a smile frozen on my face. My stomach jumps around as I strip down for my shower. Tonight, if I'm very lucky, I'll finally get my showdown with Rossini. There's absolutely no way he'll expect me to have tracked him down. After all, I'm nothing but his victim's grieving kid. He probably hasn't spared a single second of thought on me since the moment he murdered my father. He definitely won't know what I look like anymore. But I know him. Every line of his beautiful body, of his handsome, hateful face, is burned into my head. That afternoon that he waited for us at the garage, he laughed with his temporary new friends, full of false good cheer. Thinking of it now, I damn myself for the blush of first attraction I felt back then, and try to imagine putting a bullet between those bottomless dark eyes. The worst part of it all is that I have never been able to shake my attraction to Dad's murderer. I don't know what sick, messed up part of me is responsible for this flaw, but it's true. As I lather up and scrub off in the shower, hands roaming over my body, I think of his effect on me. What kind of girl discovers that her type is the man who killed her father? What kind of woman finds herself comparing any man who shows interest in her to that single glimpse of a murderer, laughing falsely with sunlight glinting in his hair? Me, apparently, and I feel like a freak for it. This guy wrecked my life, or at least what I can remember of it. My therapist says that I have dissociative amnesia. Basically, I have a lot of memories that are just missing. The blank spots mostly involve my life with my dad. I can remember what I wore on my 13th birthday, or how abandoned I felt when Mom walked out on us. I can remember being in the car with my dad when I saw Armand, but I can't remember what we did before that or after. I can't remember my father's smile. I can't remember the fun things we must have done together back when I was a kid, or what happened between him and Mom that made her leave. I can barely remember the sound of his voice. But I know he must have been a good man, and that I must have loved him very much, for his loss to have done this to my mind. My therapist, Dr. Weiss, has been using hypnotherapy to try and to help me piece together what I'm missing, but it doesn't really help. I come out of his sessions feeling calmer, but not remembering a thing more than when I got in. All he is really good for is reassurance. But even he can't help me get over this messed up attraction to Armand. I'm so ashamed of it that I've never been able to bring it up. I start washing my hair, the itch in my scalp dying as soon as the warm water rinses the sweat away. Next time I change climates, I'm changing clothes on the plane, I grumble silently to myself. My hands roam down to scrub the rest of my body, and I can't help but think of Rossini once more. He not only destroyed my memories of my father, but also deeply impacted my ability to experience intimacy. As I grew up and got curves and boys and men started noticing me, I never felt any attraction to any of them. Part of it was that teenage boys are idiots, and men who want teenage girls are predators. I didn't want to have anyone like that in my life. But some boys might have deserved a chance, if I could have felt even the tiniest spark of attraction to them. Instead, I felt absolutely nothing, not even for the cute ones. My body wouldn't respond to them, and my mind found them all boring. I won't lie and say that this desire for Armand isn't part of the reason I want him dead. If I get rid of him, his corpse will be my last memory of him. There's nothing sensual about a corpse. I would rather remember him as grotesque or chilling than keep having these thoughts and feelings and dreams. The dreams are the worst. As I dry off my hair, exhaustion from my short but grueling trip making my eyes ache. I hope that my nap is dreamless.
Chapter 4. Marina.
I hope in vain. When the dreams do come though, they're not about Armand. You need to stop being afraid of the basement, Marina, honey? Dad's voice sounds more annoyed than kind. The road we're on weaves up the cliffside road to our estate on the mountaintop. The view of the drop-off normally makes me dizzy, but this time I don't care. I'm busy thinking about the incredibly cute mechanic that Dad and I left the Mercedes with. Off in the distance, the lights of Denver are flickering on in the growing dusk. But his mention of the basement sends a cold thread of fear through me. Sweetie, this is ridiculous. You just had some nightmares, like your therapist said. Just that and some sleepwalking. There's nothing down in the basement to be afraid of. Once again, the words are kind, but his tone has a hard, strident note as if he's disgusted with me. I'm afraid of spiders too, but I don't hear you yelling at me about that, I grumble sullenly, trying to ignore how fast my heart is beating. The black rectangle of the cellar door yawns in my mind, and I think of the mechanic's dazzling smile instead, trying to push out any other thoughts. Spiders bite. Cellars store your wine. One fears sensible, the other's ridiculous. The annoyance in his voice lashes me like a whip, I flinch. It's only been a month, I mumble. He sighs in exasperation. We all feel bad about your mom leaving, honey, but you need to get over it. Crying in front of guests when I send you down to get a bottle for the table is not acceptable. I'm sorry, I almost whisper, resenting him with my whole heart. Never mind, young lady. I had just better see some progress soon. He's pulling onto the stretch of road where the police found the break in the safety barrier, and in the weird way that only dreams work, dream, reality and memory all seem to combine for a moment. I tense, something in me remembering the pitiful mass of crushed metal far below that the Mercedes dream me is in will become. You can't go forever without putting together the pieces. This doesn't begin or end with the Italian. He's just an errand boy, honey, he's gone off script suddenly. It's his same voice, the same disgusted tone I remember him using whenever he was disappointed in me. But I somehow know that he's never said these words before. Who hired Armand Rossini? That's my real killer. I sit up in sudden shock, my wide eyes staring blankly into the room that is now lit only by the glow of the city through the windows. A glance at the clock confirms that I was out for hours. That alone doesn't make any sense. I don't sleep deeply anymore. Back home, in my own bed, I get maybe 5 broken hours, interspersed between the nightmares and dirty dreams, and wake at the slightest sound. I check my watch. 4 solid hours of sleep when I expected to get only 1. It's like a damn miracle, but it also leaves me more disoriented than I need to be for my plans. Am I in any shape to do recon tonight? I almost feel like I must be getting sick. I never sleep that deeply. And what was it with that dream? It wasn't dirty, and it wasn't a nightmare. Unlike some of the crazy dreams of the last 5 years, there is one element of it that I have trouble accepting as real. As I sit there rubbing my temples, I think on that element, and am not sure how to take it. Bradley told me I adored Dad. My therapist said that I act like someone who lost someone dear to her. But the man in the dream seemed annoyed by not only my fear, but my grief over Mom's leaving. He seemed poised to mock every little sign of weakness, even my inexplicable fear of the basement. He made me feel not only small, weak, and whiny, but also as if my very existence was an inconvenience to him. The resentment I felt in the dream felt absolutely real. Most teen girls resent their parents at least some, but this was bitter and dark and full of years of unexpressed fury. No wonder Mom left if you were such a jerk. I just wish I knew why she left me with you. Except for the yawning cellar door and that heart-freezing terror, I remember absolutely nothing about the night my mother left. I have her phone number and her forwarding address in Majorca, but every time I try to call her, my stomach knots up and I have to stop before it rings more than twice. I need to eat, get my focus back, and get that recon of Rossini's property done. He might not even be there, but either way, I need to know the lay of the place if I'm going to have any chance of infiltrating it. Maybe it would be better if he isn't there tonight. I'm not a coward, and I'd love to just get this whole mess over with. But I need every edge I can get against this guy, and I know it. I force myself to eat a lean meal of salmon, vegetables, and brown rice. I drink lots of water, making sure I'm hydrated. It's the same kind of food I've been on for years. It helps keep my head clear when I'm expecting to get some exercise, which I am tonight, even if all I end up doing is climbing a fence and sneaking around Rossini's property. At 11 sharp, my uncle's courier arrives at the hotel with my gear, a nondescript man in a gray suit. I eye the 2 duffel bags for a few minutes before unzipping them and going through the contents. As I stare down at them, a wave of apprehension hits me. I'm an idiot. I have 5 years of combat training, and I'm going up against a man who has been killing people for longer than I have been alive. Who am I trying to fool? It will take more luck than I have ever experienced in my life for me to kill Armand Rossini. It will take even more luck for me to do so without losing my own life in the process. But instead of doing the smart thing and hiring a professional to do the job, I have been obsessed for years with doing this with my own 2 hands. It's not enough to just be there when Armand dies. I need to beat him. I need to see the light leave his eyes myself, and I need to be the cause of it. My therapist shocked me by taking an interest in what he labeled my revenge fantasies. He had me write them down in detail and talk about them with Uncle Bradley. I was completely shocked when my uncle turned out to be all for the idea, and even more surprised when he decided to pay a group of investigators to find Rossini so that I could exact my revenge. Before all of this, my uncle always nagged me about being more ladylike when I always preferred to run, swim, and hike. But from the moment I brought up my dream of ending Rossini myself, he changed his tune completely. I don't really know what I would have done without him. But all the support, practice, and determination in the world can't change one hard reality. Rossini is very likely going to kick my ass tonight, or put a bullet in me. That's why I have requested gear that should help me either live long enough to get him first and get out, or take him with me. Lightweight armored clothing in indigo, padded just enough to absorb some hits without making me sweat to death. 2 long sharp knives. The long rifle I got as a gift from Dad when I was 12, and the heavy caliber pistols I have practiced with for 5 years. Just like with my martial arts practice, Bradley has no idea just how much time I've spent on the range in the last few years. He hired an instructor to accompany me before I hit age 18, but mostly stayed out of it. I don't know if he found the idea of my working out and shooting guns distasteful, or if he didn't actually care all that much how good I got at it. That has never added up for me. He helps me, and then he neglects me. He reassures me that this revenge is what my father would want, and spends $250,000 yearly looking for Rossini, but then sends me off on my own. I start changing into my workout gear, and put on the light raincoat I will be wearing over it until I get to his mansion. Rossini doesn't keep any staff. No guards. No security system that I can't defeat, even with my very basic skills. He's that confident in his ability to keep himself safe. Either that, or my uncle's got bad information. But the fact that he may have bad information is why I'm checking the place out tonight, instead of just running in blindly. I check my pistol. It's a Walther PPQ, loaded with armor-piercing .40 caliber rounds. I've practiced with this same gun since I started my training. It's like an extension of my hand now. My backup weapon is another Walther. I don't normally try for two-gun mojo with them. As my instructor is fond of telling me, those kinds of flashy stunts are just a way to miss faster with more bullets. My eyes narrow as I realize that the clip is loaded with blanks. Very funny, courier man. Are you trying to get me killed? I check my backup and find more blanks. Growling in irritation, I dig out one of the boxes of hollow points I ordered, make sure they are actually hollow points, and reload my clips. I bag up the blanks while I fantasize about force-feeding them to the guy in the gray suit. Damn unprofessional. I'm going to have to tell Bradley to find a better courier. What would have happened if I had not checked? Once I've loaded and holstered both weapons, tucking 2 spare clips into my belt pouch, I stomp into my boots and meet my own gaze in the mirror. I snort, rolling my eyes. Gosh, I look like I'm cosplaying. Even armed to the teeth and with a gun in my hand, I still look ridiculously young, like I'm 16 instead of 20. My uncertainty shows in my face, making my green eyes look innocent and vulnerable. I narrow them and do my best to look tough. Time to get to work. The light opaque raincoat helps me blend in with the crowd going in and out of the lobby downstairs. I pass by people on the street outside without anyone noticing that I'm armed. No one would expect that of a young woman anyway, not around here. I might die before this is over. But I've got a secret weapon in my small bag that will make sure that if I end up engaging with Rossini tonight, he won't be coming out of it alive. I hope I don't have to use it, but if I do, it's a guaranteed win, so long as I can get within 10 feet of him. I weigh the small bag briefly in my hands, before setting it carefully on the seat of my rental car and looping the seatbelt through its strap. It really wouldn't do to have such sensitive contents sliding off the edge of the seat. I'm full of nerves as I start the drive out into the countryside, but they start to clear as I move further away from Atlanta. The warm rain and blustering wind fill the empty stretches of a nearly deserted highway. I chew mint gum to help keep myself alert. Armand Rossini's hideaway is an hour away. I will get there and do as much as I can tonight. Whether it ends before dawn or I have to come back tomorrow, I'm not going to stop until it's done.
Chapter 5. Armand.
I can't sleep. I'm too busy thinking about the innocent girl who has been wound up and sent after me. I have no doubt that my now defunct client made sure to arm her as well. He's trying to force me to kill her in self-defense since I've refused to do it outright. He's underestimated me greatly, along with my commitment to my code. My hands may be soaked in blood, but none of it is innocent. Mob bosses, serial killers, abusive husbands, sadistic fathers, those are my targets. I'd rather take a bullet than kill Marina Shea, not just because of principle, but because of pride. My troublesome former client deserves the bullet for trying to force me to compromise myself. And for deciding that a work of art like her deserves to die. There's only one thing I can think about doing to that gorgeous young vigilante, and it has nothing to do with my guilt or her vendetta. If only her schoolgirl crush on me endured, despite her knowing that I killed her father. But of course, even hoping that is perverse. Still, the idea of seducing her lingers, like an itch I can't scratch. I'm not worried about her getting to the plantation house without my knowing it. There is a winding half-mile road that runs up to my gate, and I've seeded the area with various sensors and cameras hidden in the trees. The moment she shows up in the area, I'll have a good 5 to 10 minutes before I even have to worry about her reaching the edge of my property. The land leading up to my property line is actually county land, which I sold off to them to put a buffer between me and the highway. I am not worried about her sneaking up on me. I'm just worried about her, period. She's a pawn in a very ugly game being perpetrated by a pair of human devils, and I really have to make sure that she isn't sacrificed. I want her to get out of this alive and armed with the truth. If she learns what really happened with her father, she'll find a better target for all that rage she's aiming at me. But how do I get her to listen? I get up and make myself an amaretto sour and sip it in my library as I watch the road out the window. Not a single sign of headlights anywhere out there. It gives me a little time to plan. By the time my security system chimes a warning, I already have the lights off all over. I have the camera feeds routed to my tablet, which I've turned to the lowest brightness so the glow won't give me away. I'm wearing my low-light goggles, but I do not have any of my weapons. No one dies tonight. I have no intention of even letting her see me until I'm close enough to disarm her. I glimpse her headlights well down the access road. There are no street lights at all, so it's easy to see her coming. This particular window has no plants on the sill, and no window box outside. By the time anyone reaches the gate, I can have a sniper rifle set up and ready to fire on them from here. Instead, I just boost the magnification on my goggles, focusing in tight on her windshield and her face beyond. She looks nervous, determined, and still so very young. I take my phone out and bring up her photo, smiling a little. She might hate me, and with good reason. But damn, she's cute. I watch her get out of her car, in the shadow of one of the big cypresses, just outside the gate. She slings a small bag over her shoulder, and puts on a pair of goggles much like my own. I watch curiously as she walks past the taller iron gate, and instead heads for the spike-topped iron fence. I'm not worried that she'll be able to get over it on her own. Poor little rich girl, she may have spent some time at the range, but she's hardly a professional entrywoman. I stare in shock as she throws her raincoat over the top of the spikes and clambers over the wet iron like a monkey, scrambling up quickly and flinging herself over like the devils on her trail. Crap! I really like this girl. I can't help but grin. Apparently, the young lady is full of surprises. And she's clearly brave too. It only makes me want her more. And that brings my head back to the same question. How can I convince her that I did everyone a favor, including her, by putting her father in his grave? I watch her progress across my lawn, keeping to the shadowy edges as much as she can, her movements stealthy and cautious. She's avoiding the cameras. She's a little more hesitant and clumsier than a pro, but she's been practicing, and she definitely has a lot of potential. I decide to power off the security grid on the lower floor. I want to see if she can get inside. If she does, I'm going to take care of her myself, instead of letting the alarms go off to alert the neighbors and the police. She reaches the code box outside my door and manages to hack it after a few tries, deactivating the door alarm. She picks the lock and the deadbolt, and then quietly steps inside. I move out onto the landing to watch her as she creeps through the entryway and into the dining room. I catch whiffs of hotel shampoo and hand cream as she walks past the stairs. It's familiar. Which Atlanta hotel uses rosewater-scented toiletries again? I file the question away in case I have to track her later, and move silently down the stairs to start following her more closely. It's not difficult to stay out of her view, She's moving slowly and fairly quietly, but I can hear her labored breathing. She's scared. Of course she is. She might be brave and skilled, but she's an amateur trying to avenge her dad, and she probably thinks of me as some kind of unstoppable monster. But sometimes fear makes people more dangerous. Frightened people with firearms can kill without even meaning to. I'm careful to stay in her blind spots. The way she moves, the flash of her pale skin against that dark, richly scented hair, the curve of her hips in those high-tech combat pants. She wants to be a tough girl, wants to be my enemy. But my lust for her is growing so strong that I barely care about the potential danger. We have reached my cavernous living room, with its display cases of small statuary and fossils, its sprawling velvet couches and thick Persian carpet. I move a little closer to her, still dodging her line of sight, and using the shadows and furniture of the room to break up my silhouette. I'm trying to decide whether to speak first or jump her to get the gun away, when she catches a glimpse of my reflection in the glass of the cabinet doors. She tenses, and I lunge forward as she spins around.
Chapter 6. Marina.
The entire house is dark but warm, and smells like it's been inhabited recently. Faint whiffs of garlic bread and steak from the kitchen. Amaretto from the library. And everywhere, the faint smell of spicy cologne. I'm careful. I do everything right that I can possibly think of. Checking my corners. Moving carefully and quietly through the building, checking every room in case he's sleeping in there, or somehow waiting for me. Where are you, you son of a gun? Where did you get to, and why are you making no noise at all? Maybe he's not here after all. That would be a break, in a way, especially with my stomach jumping around like this. I'm halfway through the living room when I catch sight of movement behind me, in the reflection of one of the glass-fronted display cases. I spin around, and don't even get a chance to pull the trigger. He's a lot bigger than I remember, and faster than I ever dreamed. He's already blocked the slide with his hand. A second later, he twists the pistol out of my grip and sends it sailing across the room. I roll back out of his reach and pull my backup pistol, and he moves like lightning again, darting forward and grabbing both my wrists. Next thing I know, he has me pinned against the wall. He's wearing night vision goggles too, and his expression is more amused than angry. That pisses me off enough to get over my shock and start fighting his grip, squirming and kicking. Maybe I can get a wrist free. No good. He lifts me partway off my feet and raps my gun hand sharply against the wall. My backup pistol clatters to the floor, and he kicks it behind him. I refuse to cry out. Teeth gritted, I fight his grip, trying to get a knee up into his gut or something. His response is to wedge a knee between my thighs and pin me more firmly, his whole body pressing against mine, anchoring me to the wall. A sharp jolt goes through me. I've never felt anything like it before. It's hot and electric, and the closer his body presses against mine, the more it cuts through my fear and distracts me from my anger. What are you doing to me? That's quite enough, he states, far too calmly for the situation. Stop squirming. You're not going to be able to break my grip, and I don't want to have you hurt. I want to spit in his face, but when I raise my head to look at him, all I can see are those perfect full lips smiling faintly in the dim moonlight. My mouth dries up immediately. Damn you, let me go. I snap. What, so you can try to kill me? His black amusement stings. I hate him, and I hate even more that I can feel my body tingling from his closeness, from his rich masculine scent in my nostrils. You've got no damn business complaining. You murdered my father. Did you think I would just let you get away with it? It's stupid to yell when he's close enough to just snap my neck, but I can't stop fighting. That small amused smile dies. Your father was a monster. The only reason that you don't realize that is because you can't remember what he did. I freeze, my whole body going cold despite his warm, powerful body pinning mine. My mind immediately goes back to the strange dream, and my father's annoyance with me for being afraid of the basement. And for a moment, I wonder. I catch myself and a wave of disgust runs through me. What the hell am I thinking, believing this murderer over my own family, even for a moment? I don't know who hired you, or what kind of lies he handed you when he gave you your advance, but my father was a great man. Your father was under investigation by the FBI and the hospital board at the time of his death. If what he and his partner did had ever become public knowledge before he died, he would have died in prison. His tone has a note of pity to it, as if I'm some poor brainwashed creature who can't grasp the truth. I am sorry that he has deceived you so badly, on top of everything else. I just stare at him. He switches both my wrists into the grip of one broad hand and pulls off both our night vision goggles so that he can look me in the eyes. I'm not saying these things to hurt you. You may not believe this, but I don't mean you any harm. I can't help it, I burst out laughing. You don't mean me any harm? You murdered my father. Don't you think that would hurt me at least a little? He lets out a sigh, and his head lowers slightly. To my complete surprise, his handsome face creases with pain. I'm sorry. Whether he was a good man or not, I have taken him from you and I deserve your anger. But when it comes to seeking revenge, there's someone who deserves your bullets far more than I. I have no idea what to say. My heart is pounding, my breath burns in my lungs. He's apologizing to me. That's even crazier than hearing him say that my father deserved his fate. Stop, I mumble finally. He sets me back on my feet and moves back slightly, but his hands still hold my wrists like warm, smooth manacles. Stop what? Stop playing head games with me. I came here to get the name of the man who hired you, and then kill you. I'm not going to stop until one of us is dead. And you caught me. So stop toying with my mind and just get it over with. He's going to kill me. Of course he is. That's what he does. Get what over with? Are you assuming that I plan to end your life? There's that amusement again, this time with a hint of self-deprecation. I'd really rather explain the situation and see if we can work this out. Is that why you're pinning me against a wall? I point out and he snorts. As lovely as this position might be under much different circumstances, he replies in a deep, rumbling voice as his thumb slides briefly along the inside of my wrist. I'm only pinning you against the wall to keep you from attacking me. Stop talking like you're innocent, I growl, trying again to kick him. It's not like my attack is unprovoked. And as for the rest, you're just making up lies about my father to try and confuse me. If that was my aim, I'd come up with something a lot smoother than pointing out that your father was being investigated when he died. However, you're welcome to dig for information on the case if you wish. That won't exactly help our immediate situation, though. Even if he's lying, I have trouble not listening to him. His voice is amazing. His accent turns his soft tones into rolling, lilting music, teasing at my ears and leaving me breathing faster. I'm face to face with the man who killed my father, and not only have I failed to get revenge, I can't even stop wanting him. Tears of frustration fill my eyes. Stop it. I know you can't let me live. Suddenly, without any warning, he lets me go. He still stands close to me, and I know better than to go for the guns or the knives on my belt. Instead, I rub my wrists while he sighs and shakes his head. My dear, you have known my name for 5 years. If that was really a concern to me, I would have paid you a visit a long time ago. But it is not. If I were you, I would be more concerned about the person who paid me to kill your father. Who was it? I demand, and he smiles sadly. That's a fact that I don't think you're ready to deal with yet. You're in such denial about your father that you've forgotten him to protect your heart. If I give you the name of the man who wanted both of you dead, you'll just deny that too. You're not ready. You condescending creep. I lash out, slapping him hard across the face, so hard that my hand burns afterward. He takes it, rolling with the blow and then looking back at me calmly. His response shocks me into silence for a moment, and then I growl more quietly, "That's not your call. You don't even know me." No, but sadly, I know the man who gave the order. He doesn't expect me to try and reason with you. He was hoping I would just shoot you, that you showing up here would just be one more reason among many to get rid of you. Just tell me who he is and why he wanted my dad dead. I have knives. I'm aware of their weight on my belt. I could yank one from its sheath and drive it into his belly. Or rather, I could try. He was fast and skilled enough to strip me of my guns before I could get a shot off. What makes me think that I'll have any more luck with a blade? Your father had a partner in his criminal ventures. After a brush with his secret left you traumatized and his marriage destroyed, he tried to retire. His partner refused to let him walk away from the fortune they were making, and had him killed. I agreed to the job because one of the people your father killed was one of my local informants. I was pissed off. I should have taken a closer look at who was calling my shots. There's a slight pleading note in his voice, as if he's almost desperate to convince me. My lips are going numb. I can see the basement door yawning open like a door to hell in my mind's eye. I just managed to mumble, my father never killed anyone. He was a doctor. He saved lives. Burke and Hare didn't start out by killing either. He stares down at me, and then shocks me by reaching out to tenderly brush my hair back behind my ear. I shock myself even more by standing there and letting him. The warm brush of his hand against my cheek does more for me than a kiss ever has, making me even more conflicted than before. I think you should go, he says quietly. Leave my home, and don't ever return with a weapon on you, or I'll take it personally. If you stay, I will only add to the turmoil I can see in your eyes. Do the research. Verify what I am telling you. And answer this, who stands to benefit most financially from your father's death? Me, I reply. But I wouldn't be risking my neck trying to get Dad some justice if I was the one who had him killed. No, you would not. But you need to understand. Your father's partner had him killed in part for leaving their business, in part for fear of being exposed, and in part because he had only one way left to make money off of your father: inheritance. Who else stands to inherit your father's billions if you are removed from the picture? The room lurches around me. What are you saying? I am saying that he tried to contract me for more than one hit, and I refused yours. Because I don't murder innocent young women, even if they come to my home with a gun. He cups my chin, his grip gentle but firm. Have a close look at your father's will, cara mia. Take a look at who stands to gain if you should die. Then you will truly understand why you were sent here.
Chapter 7. Armand.
After she flees without her guns, leaving me alone with my lust and turmoil, I watch her drive off down the road, going only a little too fast. Marina. Cara mia, I am so sorry. I hate being the bearer of bad news. I turn the upstairs lights back on, reset the security system, and go upstairs to my library again. I bring up my file on Marina and her family on my tablet, and shake my head as I look over all the ugly details that I have not told her yet. She's braver and cleverer than expected, but I know she would never have believed me if I tried to explain the truth about her father's murder straight out. It started out small, well before Marina was ever born, when both her father and his partner were department heads at the county hospital. It was decades before anyone started to catch on. The discrepancies between donor lists and harvested organs only came to light after a pair of discreet early retirements. The black market organ business is always hungry and they pay well. Unauthorized organ harvesting from the recently deceased is easy if they have a donor card, and only a bit harder if they don't. But there are a limited number of corpses in a hospital. That was when the partners started making their own. Using a hidden harvesting facility, they found a particularly hideous way of turning Denver's homeless population into pure profit. That poor girl and her mother lived their lives with a monster that Mangale would have been proud to work with, and neither one of them knew. Eventually, her mother fled, and Merina has holes in her memories that she blogs about on social media. I think that they found out, and I think that neither of them could handle it, each of them reacting in different ways. It took me some time after the initial contract to find out who the partner really was, and I've been determined to put a bullet in him ever since. Unfortunately, he's deliberately drawn Marina as close as possible, probably to control her. I know he will use her as a human shield if I close in. Coward. I've gotten enough information about Marina over the years to know that she won't be leaving town until this is resolved. She's waited 5 years for revenge. I'll have to be patient to see what happens when the facts I have given her finally sink in. An hour later, one of my phone rings suddenly. It's the number I have kept around only for that singular client who thinks he's anonymous. I connect the call and snap. What is it? My tone is full of impatience. Is it finished? Is the girl dead? He's so eager that he's hyperventilating. I open my mouth to curse him out, threaten him, tell him that I know who he is and I'm coming for him. But I'm too smart to give him the warning. The girl never found me. The house outside Atlanta that you sent her to is currently unoccupied. I have a nice video of her breaking and entering, but I think I'll be keeping it to myself. I hear him curse under his breath and bite back a laugh. You can't hide forever. My man in Georgia will be watching for you. That's not a very bright idea, if he wants to live very long. What are you going to do? Send me his heart in a box? He mocks me. No, I don't think so. You'd probably try to sell it. A long pause and then the voice snarls, very funny. We're closing in on you, Rossini, no matter what you do. Either you complete the contract, or what? I snap, voice sharp and hard. You're going to call Interpol on me? You wouldn't dare. You know I would take you down with me. There's a long pause as he splutters. For such a supposedly brilliant man, he's not very quick-witted. It's probably all the alcohol. You're not the only professional in the business. I'm sure some of your competitors have grudges against you. If the girl can't do the job, I'll kill her myself and send one of them after you. I feel my free hand clench into a fist so hard that my knuckles ache. He can threaten me all he wants, but when he speaks of killing that doe-eyed girl that he's already used so badly, I can't control my reaction. She's an innocent. She's a liability. Your money is waiting in escrow for the partial completion of your assignment. Get it done, or things will go down just as I have insinuated. He hangs up abruptly, and I growl and shove my phone back into my pocket. Marina. He aims to kill her if I don't do it. I have to warn her. That means finding her hotel. The one with the fancy toiletries that smell of rosewater. I've stayed there, entertaining a weekend fling. The lady came out of the shower with her skin smelling of the stuff 3 mornings in a row. Praying I'm right, I walk into my expansive closet to put on a disguise. I'm still a wanted man. I can't just walk around letting my real face end up on security camera feeds. I took away Marina's father. It's time that I make it up to her, even if that means protecting her from herself or her own flesh and blood.
Chapter 8. Merina.
By the time I make it back to the hotel, I'm exhausted. I've lost both my guns and almost all of my nerve. I still don't know why Rossini spared me. He could have shot me in the back before I ever realized he was there. But instead, he tried reason. He tried to explain what happened all those years ago. I don't know if he was playing some crazy mind game, or if he was telling the truth, or whatever he thinks the truth might be. He seemed so earnest. I hit him as hard as I could, and all he did was try to talk with me. He could have killed me with one punch. Instead, I carry with me the memory of his gentle touch as he stroked my hair. Who is this man? I stare out the window of the hotel as I strip out of my clothes, letting everything drop to the floor, from my empty holsters to my underwear. My body aches and itches with unfamiliar sensations. He confused me. He scared me. He said things with a straight face that sounded impossible, and insinuated even more. The man who hired him to kill my father also tried to hire him to kill me, to gain a clear shot at my father's money. I'm sorry, Dad. I ran. I couldn't do anything. Tears of shame blur my vision as I stand naked in the darkened room. I go to cry in the shower for a while, but I'm so worn out that I just end up leaning against the wall while the water sluices over me. I make sure the door is locked, and then open the balcony door to let the smell of warm rain waft through the windscreen. I crawl into bed, squeezing my eyes shut and just wanting the world to go away for a while. Someone is lying to me. The assassin I've been planning to murder for 5 long years, or Uncle Bradley. It might also be whoever is giving Bradley his information. Maybe he's being misled by my father's mysterious partner, if any part of what Armand said is true. He was the one who encouraged me to verify what he was saying. Some of it I might be able to check into online. There's also one person that I know will have at least some answers for me. But I haven't talked to her in 5 years. Mom, if Dad was a good man, why did you leave him? And if he wasn't, why did you leave me? My hair is gathered into a damp ponytail, and I curl up under the sheet while the breeze from the rainstorm brushes against my cheeks. I'm just dozing off when my phone rings. It's Uncle Bradley. Damn it, leave me alone. But the phone keeps ringing. I finally pick it up, resentment stewing in my stomach. Hello. Any luck? Bradley's voice sounds too cheerful, like he's forcing it. I freeze. I can't possibly tell him what actually happened. I searched the property. There was no one present. No car in the garage, no signs of recent activity, and the house was unheated. The lies shame me further, and I can feel my cheeks burn. I failed my family, and now I'm hiding the truth from them. Damn. Sounds like my lead wasn't any good after all. I'm sorry, sweetheart. You planning to come back home tomorrow? No. I managed to make myself sound more determined. Just because he was out tonight doesn't mean the lead wasn't good. All the other information that you gave me checked out. I'm going back tomorrow. Well, aren't you brave? Now he sounds genuinely pleased instead of the falsity from earlier, but there's a condescending tone to it, as if he's talking to a dog. Your father would be proud. Yeah. My father would be furious. So would Bradley, if he knew that the only reason I plan to stay in Atlanta is to figure out my next moves without his or anyone's influence. I already know that I can't kill Armand. The whole time that he had me pinned against the wall, the explosives in my bag were within reach. I could have slipped a hand down into it when he let me go. I could have ended us both and avenged my father. It was what I had intended to do if I got caught. But I completely forgot about the damn thing until afterward. He captivated me too much. His words confused me too much. And all it took was that unexpected seed of doubt to push any crazy thoughts out of my head. All right, well, if my contacts in the area dig up anything else about him, I will let you know. Otherwise, call me when the job is done. Am I imagining the tiny edge to Bradley's voice as he finishes his sentence? Hey, you fat old fart, if you want this done faster, come help. Okay. Good night, Uncle Bradley. I try to settle back into bed, but something about his voice in my ear has left me restless and unable to sleep. I get up and go to my laptop, booting it up and connecting to the hotel Wi-Fi. The warm, moist breeze feels good on my skin. There's an exotic scent to it, and every now and then there's an undertone that reminds me of Armand's cologne. It's too late to call my mother. The idea of trying to reach across the gulf between us makes me a little sick. I've never forgiven her for leaving, but she's the only person in the world that I absolutely know will not lie to protect my father, or my feelings. With nothing else to do, I decide to take on Armand's challenge and start looking into my father's history. I never imagined that he was anything but an innocent victim of someone he managed to anger. And of course, I have few memories that contradict that, so I've always tried to assume the best. Everything I can find online under my father's name talks about his medical achievements. His time as director of the hospital's surgical wing, his transition into medical equipment manufacturing, and the death that the whole outside world believed was an accident. There's nothing here that I haven't read before. Then, on a hunch, I run a search on the hospital where he worked. As soon as I alter the date range to search for stories from between 5 and 10 years ago, news articles start popping up. Some of their headlines leave my hair standing on end. Hospital morgue investigated for improper disposal of remains. Former surgical director questioned over a large number of body parts found in hazardous materials disposal after cremation chamber breaks down. Body parts in Denver hospital case match fingerprints from missing homeless vet, runaway teen. Suspected serial killer may have covertly disposed of victims' bodies in hospital medical waste. Former surgical director cleared of any involvement in medical disposal case. Investigation shifts to morgue director and staff. I don't remember any of this. None of the news articles, no mention of the situation by my parents, nothing. But as I read the articles, my heart starts to beat faster, and that same terror that I feel in my nightmares starts haunting me. Finally, I drag myself to bed and take a tranquilizer just to force myself to rest. I'm trembling as I curl up under the covers. Father, what were you hiding? I close my eyes. Falling asleep is a relief. What happens next isn't. I don't know how I got myself wedged under my bed like a little kid, or when I curled up there, still and silent. It must have been a while ago, because I'm getting stiff, and my body is sore from all the trembling I have been doing. Outside my bedroom, Mom and Dad are shouting at each other in a way I have never heard before. I found her on the floor of the basement. She's hiding under her bed, James. She won't come out and she won't talk. What's in that room down there and why is it locked? You should really calm down. She saw a few medical samples and got scared, that's all. She will be completely fine. Everything will be fine. Bullcrap, James. She kept screaming about a freezer full of hands and feet. Well then, she's either psychotic or hallucinating. Have you considered having her tested for illicit substances? His voice sounds so reasonable, as if my mother is the crazy one. But the words that are calmly coming out of his mouth tell me a different story. Illicit substances? She's a good girl. She's never done any of that in her life. And she's got no history of mental problems, you know that. So why is she gibbering and crying under her bed then? That's what I've been asking you. The basement. Secrets locked down in the basement. A chest full of hands. Of feet. Of more. Anyone would have screamed. What have you done, James? What happened to our baby girl? I wake up cold and shaking, tears running like water down my cheeks and my chest burning as I fight back a scream. My heart beats so hard that my head throbs from it. My throat hurts, I know I must have screamed in my sleep. Just a nightmare. It's not a flashback. It's not a memory. It is just a damned nightmare. But deep down, I know better. All the confusion and horror that Armand left me with has percolated in my head. I suddenly have a clue as to why I was so terrified of that basement. But was it just a misunderstanding? Maybe Dad had some pickled organs down there, like the kind you find in a biology classroom. Maybe I had a complete freak out over nothing. Mom got mad, Dad got defensive, their relationship started to crumble. But if that was all it was, why can't I remember any of it? I need to talk to Dr. Weiss, desperately. But it's the middle of the night, and I know he won't be picking up. I'm totally alone, I don't know what to do, and the tears won't stop. Are you all right? The familiar soft voice comes from outside the screen. I look up in shock and see a shadow standing out there, tall and broad-shouldered. In that moment, I honestly wonder if I'm still dreaming. Armand moves forward so I can see his face in the dim moonlight. He's dressed differently, his body swathed in a dark overcoat. A knitted cap fringed with fake blonde hair hangs from one hand. Once again, no sign of a weapon. I should be terrified. He's an experienced assassin, and he's right there. He could have shot me through the screen or busted in while I was sleeping and finished the job with a pillow. Instead, he's looking at me with worry from beyond the screen's boundary. "What are you doing here?" I snap, suddenly realizing that I'm naked under the blanket. I clutch the fabric tighter around my body, cheeks burning. "I am very sorry for the intrusion, Miss Marina, but there was no other choice. There have been some new developments, and the situation has become much less safe for you than before. Maybe because there's an assassin on my balcony?" I snap, and he lets out a soft laugh. "Touché. But no, unfortunately. I mean that my former employer has upped the stakes against you, and you deserve to know the facts about it. For your own safety." He looks at the screen in front of him. "May I come in?" "Fine, but I'm not coming over there. I don't want to let on that I'm not wearing anything, and I certainly don't want to show him." He shrugs. "Very well." One simple push in the right place, and suddenly the screen lock doesn't work anymore. He slides the door open gently, steps in, and closes it behind him. "Is there any reason you are hiding in bed?" I feel a rush of warmth flush through my skin. I can just show him, if I want to. Part of me, the part that has come to attention again now that I'm in his presence, would like that very much indeed. Probably, so would he. I just don't have the nerve. I just woke up from a hell of a dream. I'm not going anywhere, for a minute. His gaze holds mine as he crosses the room toward me. "Of course. What was your dream about?" "The basement," I mumble, not wanting to get into detail. "The basement of my father's house. I found something down there when I was young. Something medical. It freaked me out so badly that I hid under my bed and listened to my parents fight for hours. My eyes are stinging again, and I can't help feeling embarrassed. I don't want to start blubbering in front of this murderer. But my body and heart won't cooperate." He settles onto the corner of the bed, his weight-shifting mattress underneath us. "Are you sure that's all you found down there?" The gentle question hurts like hell. I remember the bleak feeling of curling up all alone under my bed, my parents too occupied with arguing over me to comfort me. A sob tears its way out of my throat, leaving me hurting and humiliated as I bury my face in my hands. I don't know. There are pieces missing from my memories. I've been going to a hypnotherapist for years to try and get them back. But now I've gotten this one big piece, and it just makes everything else more confusing. I can't take it anymore. I have tried to keep my head clear and get the job done. But now, everything inside me is in chaos. What did you do? How did you do this to me? I gave you a piece of the truth. I'm sorry that it's so hard for you to process. But then again, there are reasons why your mind blocked out almost everything about your father. I still don't know who to believe or who to trust. I'm shaking all over. But there's a growing feeling trying to edge out my pain. The awkward, tempting reality of being secretly naked in his presence is settling in. My mind must be casting about for a distraction. Again, cowardly. Trust yourself and trust the facts that you gather. Every other person in this world has an agenda, even if they care about you. His hand slides toward me across the top of the bedspread, and I shiver, wondering what will happen if this little secret is discovered. It's hard to trust myself when my memories are full of holes. I wonder how many horrors those holes contain. What did I block out and why? Was my father actually a monster? My father is a great man. I must avenge his death. My own life is not as important as making sure that the man who killed him pays. The phrase rattles through my head, as if it's being read off of a teleprompter. There's no emotion behind them, not love or anger. But they feel absolute, as if God himself handed them down. What the hell is happening to me? I gasp and burst into tears. Then my world's foundation cracks again, as he moves forward and pulls me into his arms.
Chapter 9. Armand.
I shouldn't be doing this. This vulnerable girl, however beautiful and brave, should be off limits to me. She is caught in the middle of a dangerous situation. I killed her father. I rode a wrecking ball through her whole world. But I can't let her go. I hold her lightly, giving her the opportunity to squirm away if she wants. But instead, she buries her face against my shoulder. One hand grasps my shirt front, clinging to me. The other is balled into a fist and smacks against my arm harmlessly. As her tears soak through my shirt, the mix of guilt, empathy, and desire threatens to boil over inside of me. I stroke her hair gently, murmuring in a soothing tone that it will be all right, that she's strong enough to get through this, that I will help her. When did her needs start mattering to me quite so much? I just came to give her a warning. I didn't come here to try and take her pain away. But here she is in my arms, with my hand slipping over her silky hair and down to her shoulders, which are bare. I blink. Wait just a moment. My fingers drift across her upper back stealthily, and then my arms settle around her again, as I realize she must not be wearing anything underneath those sheets. No wonder she didn't want to get out of bed. Oh my. Temptation gnaws at me. It's been too long since a woman has interested me this much. But she's upset and vulnerable, and I'm not that much of a jerk. I shouldn't even be here with her. But everyone in her life is a damn Judas, from what I can tell. She has no one to treat her right. I might not be the right person for the job, but I still want to volunteer. I bury my nose in her hair and hold her close, trying to ignore the mix of rose-scented hair and feminine musk that rises from her smooth, soft body. I can feel her breath catch and a tremor go through her as I hold her. Her heartbeat is picking up. Her free arm stops flailing at me and wraps around me instead. I can feel her body relax against mine slightly. Oh gosh. When I idly hoped that her crush on me had never subsided, I certainly expected that it had. I never seriously considered what I would do if she still wanted me. But here she is, tears drying up as our bodies slowly become more aware of each other. She looks up at me, her eyes searching my face. Why didn't you kill me? Why are you helping me? If I'm feeling this confused by our inexplicable attraction, I can only imagine how she must be feeling. She must be fishing for some reason for this to be okay, or at least for reassurance that her interest in me isn't one-sided. But I'm wary of her getting too attached, or maybe I'm worried about myself. Even as I continue to hang on to her and feel her palms slide up my sides, I know that will only make things worse for her. Little Marina doesn't need a semi-retired assassin in her life. So I'm quick to set her straight. I'm helping myself. I don't understand. She sounds shyly disappointed, and my stomach tightens. If I can convince you of the truth, you'll stop trying to kill me, and I can get you off my back without killing you. Perhaps you'll even stop hating me. Maybe you'll move on with your life, and stop letting your family's past affect your future. She just blinks at me, looking completely stunned. I have to catch my breath. She feels so good in my arms that I have to force myself to focus on anything other than the pleasure. As for not wanting to harm you, I tried to tell you. I have a code. I only eliminate criminals and dangerous individuals. I don't touch innocents like you. But in this case, the man who wanted your father's demise tried to send me after you. I refused, and so he orchestrated this meeting to try and force the issue. She stiffened slightly in my arms, that hazy look of panic returning to her eyes. I don't know how bad her amnesia is, but I know that it's shielding her from terrible pain. My revelations from earlier helped to clear some of the fog in her memories, and that left her distraught. And now I'm revealing even more. I'm trying to be careful. She's traumatized enough without me making it worse. But right now she's living in danger every day, and remaining ignorant will only make things more dangerous. You want revenge on this man because he ordered your father's death. I want revenge on him because he's trying to force my hand, and I absolutely will not allow him to force me or kill you. Once you've done your research, and are satisfied that I am telling the truth, I propose that we hunt him together. It's crazy enough that I'm not surprised when she lets out a shocked laugh. You're playing with my head, she chuckles incredulously. You can't possibly expect me to just trust you. What about my revenge? Damn it, I growl, cupping her face and staring intensely into her eyes. She freezes and her lips part, an unconscious offering. I force myself to ignore them. Shall I do penance then? I can't help you get this guy if I'm dead, so you can't expect my life. Just tell me what you want from me, and I will give it to you. A shiver goes through her. Her hands slide up to grip my shoulders through my shirt. Fine. If you're not messing with me, here's what I want. You work for me now, until I'm done with you. Her unexpected fire makes me ache. Then what are your orders? Tomorrow we can talk about this plan of yours. And for that, I'll need the whole truth out of you, no matter how badly you think I'll react. I hesitate, and then nod my agreement. Done. What about tonight? She bites her lip and looks up at me softly. Tonight, I need you to get all of this out of my mind. No more thinking about it. No more dreaming about it. She takes a deep breath, and her eyes stray to my lips, so there's no mistaking her meaning. Can you do that for me? My mouth goes dry. I swallow, and then give her my most charming smile. I'm sure I'll come up with something.
Chapter 10. Marina.
I've never been one to do things halfway, and so it is with Armand. His mouth captures mine hungrily, before I even have time to catch my breath. I've never asked for intimacy from anyone before. I never imagined that I could, even in such a shy, indirect way. Good thing that he understood me perfectly. And apparently, he's happy to help. I've never been this close to a man before. His eyes are bright, his muscles tighten and shiver a little as I run my hands over him. The blanket still covers my body. But his hands are sliding up and down my back, going lower each time. I gasp into his mouth, and hear him chuckle low in his throat before he kisses me even more fiercely. I'm getting rid of my fear bit by bit, and all the rage in the world is pouring in to replace it. I hate you. I want you. Make up for what you did. Make me feel good, for once in my life. He pulls me closer, and I feel the breath from his nostrils hot on my cheek. The fabric of his clothes rustles maddeningly. I scratch him through his shirt, moving my hands between us to start unbuttoning it. He lets out a surprised grunt but doesn't stop me, instead shucking the shirt off as soon as I have it unbuttoned and tossing it aside. His body is sleek and hard under his clothes, his olive skin smooth save for a few narrow scars. I hear 2 thumps as he kicks off his shoes, and then he climbs further onto the bed with me, his eyes burning with desire. I've never seen a man look at me like this, with a mixture of worship and hunger. Do I really know what I'm getting into here? Do I really want my first time to be with him? Tiny doubts keep trying to nibble at me, but I push them away furiously. I hate that there's never been anyone else but him. I hate that only he has been able to turn me on this much. I don't care if I wake up tomorrow and regret everything. This is an itch that needs to be scratched. For a moment I think he's done, but then his dark eyes open, piercing into me, and I know from the heat in them that this is just starting.
Chapter 11. Armand.
Don't get involved. That's one of my rules. But unlike the others, this one is meant to protect me, not anyone else. I've always appreciated companionship. I like being close to someone, sharing quiet moments that feel like they matter, even if I pretend they don't. Merina lies beside me, her presence warm and steady. We're both quiet, breathing in sync, the room wrapped in stillness. There's a kind of peace in the way she leans into me, trusting and calm. I focus on her, on making sure she feels safe, cared for. That matters more than anything right now. She murmurs something soft, my name wrapped in her voice, and it catches me off guard. Not because of what she says, but how she says it, like I mean something. Like this moment means something. I close my eyes, letting the tension in my body ease. For once I don't feel the urge to get up and leave, to put distance between myself and someone who's managed to reach past my walls. She gently runs her fingers through my hair, and I stay right where I am. Just for a little while longer.
Chapter 12. Marina.
I know I'm not supposed to be down here in the basement. Daddy's rules. The only thing I'm ever allowed to do is take the immediate left at the bottom of the stairs into the wine room so that I can fetch him a bottle or 3. It seems to amuse him to send me down to a place where stepping through the wrong door could get me grounded for a week. It amuses him more that my mother hates this habit. She's 15 and you're treating her like your sommelier, James. What are you thinking? Daddy is a jerk. Nobody in my family would be surprised to hear that. But I'm the only one who actually says it. Sometimes I have a problem filtering the things that come out of my mouth, as my current grounding proves once again. One of my friends from self-defense class is a boy, and suddenly Dad's interrogating me about poor Jamie left and right, being all nosy about our relationship. I finally pop out with the truth. Damn it, Dad, Jamie is gay as hell. We're not dating, so you can stop talking to me about how boys will ruin my life. Somehow, this is disrespectful enough that he grounds me for a week, for setting him straight on his worries. So I figure, if he wants to punish me, it may as well be for something that is actually worth it. The basement of our old house has sprawling rooms, some of them made of ancient brick and stone, others of plain concrete. Most of them are being used for storage. But there's a door in the back that is firmly closed, though right now its padlock hangs open. We used to have underground parking beneath the house, but when I was 12, around the time that Dad retired, they walled this section of the basement off. The garage entrance still opens onto the road that runs along the back of the property, but until now, I always thought it was sealed as well. Now, as I open the door and my flashlight gleams off of clean stainless steel and tile, I'm not so sure. The former garage is still in use. But instead of housing cars, it's full of medical equipment. There are 5 of what look to be chest freezers lining one wall, with temperature monitors attached. The other walls are lined with every shape and size of stainless steel cabinets. I grab the handle of one that looks like an oven door and it rolls out, and out. It's a morgue drawer. What the hell? I move further into the room, and a drain grate rattles as I step on it by accident. The sloped floor is faintly stained with dark streaks and there's a strong smell of bleach. My flashlight slides past an unmarked white delivery van that sits at the base of the garage ramp, and falls on something even weirder. Dad's a surgeon. I know what a surgical theater looks like, and I am definitely looking at one right now. But why is it in our basement? There's a large, ordinary chest freezer here with a clear lid. I walk over to it, my stomach doing flips. Why would my father be doing secret surgeries in our basement? I shine my light down into the fridge, and what I see there sends a flash of horror through me that knocks my thoughts into chaos. I remember dropping the flashlight. I remember running for the stairs. I remember my legs giving out before I can reach them, my knees hitting the floor. Everything becomes a blur. My mother, calling my name in a panic. My father sighing in exasperation, and then speaking to someone else. She's seen too much. But she's my daughter. What do we do? I hear loud knocking from somewhere, pulling me from sleep. But before the dream dissolves, I hear a familiar voice say, "I know a specialist. Leave it to me." I sit up in my tangled bedclothes and realize that I am alone. Armand has vanished. Someone is banging on the door so loudly that I worry it might be the police. The rich scent of expensive cologne clings to me as I wrap the sheet around myself and get off the bed. My legs are wobbly, the insides of my thighs sore. Yet despite the rude awakening, my body is more relaxed than I can ever remember it being. Under my disorientation and annoyance at being awakened by whoever is still making a racket at my door, I feel a stab of disappointment that Armand has made himself scarce. But it makes sense. Being caught naked with me would cause trouble for us both. Who the hell is it? I manage, the horror from the dream sending jolts of adrenaline through me. I lean against the wall halfway to the door, clutching the sheet to my chest, the room lurching around me. Miss Shea. Are you all right? The voice is a light tenor, touched with a Georgia twang. My name's Corbett Chong. I work for your uncle. I look around at the rumpled bed, my scattered clothes everywhere, my tangled wild hair. There's no hiding that I had a man here last night. Especially if this guy is an investigator Uncle Bradley has hired. I'm fine. If you have news for me, I'll meet you down in the hotel diner in 20 minutes, I shout through the door, still leaning against the wall. I'll wait out here, he says cheerfully, and I curse under my breath. I take my time showering, leaving the window open to air out the room. It's pouring outside, warm misty rain, such a contrast to Colorado. I keep my mind off the nightmare, thinking instead of anything else. What to tell the damn investigator? What clothes I have that will cover the marks on my neck and the backs of my thighs. Armand's words. Armand's body. He said I was in danger. He promised to explain everything. But then the idiot outside showed up, forcing him to take off without so much as leaving his phone number. Damn it. I just gave myself to my father's murderer. I should be ashamed of myself. But instead, there's this bitter, ugly, rebellious pride welling up inside of me that I can't quite understand. How can I enjoy such a defiance of my father's memory? It must be a chemical reaction. The intimate experience was incredible, and after last night, I'm confident that I can find it. Even that horrible dream, the details of which are slowly coming back to me as I wash and dress, can't rob me of this afterglow. It must be endorphins or something. I throw on some plain jeans and a t-shirt under my tobacco-colored leather jacket. Just a ponytail, almost no makeup. My knives are barely visible on my belt. But now this creeping cold feeling is welling up inside of me. My dreams tend to fade away once I wake up. But sometimes, and this only happens with the nightmares, they actually get clearer and more detailed once the fog of sleep wears off. This is crazy. Once I get this meeting with Chong over with, I'm going straight back to Armand's for some damn answers. And maybe a second round, but only once he helps me figure out what the hell is going on in my head. Chang's knocking again. Miss Shea? Yeah. I walk to the door, shoes still off, and let him in, not even trying to hide my annoyance. What's this about? The man on the other side of the door is Chinese, about medium height, tanned and muscular, with a winning smile that looks forced. He's in a pale linen suit, a few shades lighter than my jacket. His hair is swept back and streaked with brown, and his eyes flick over me alertly. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but this should be discussed in private. May I come in? Fine. I step back and he walks past me, looking around. I shut the door. So, state your business. You woke me up from some badly needed sleep. Actually, I badly needed to wake up from that awful dream. I just wish I had forgotten it in the process. But instead, it's coming into horrible focus. Your uncle asked that I watch out for you while you're in Atlanta. A strange man was spotted on your balcony late at night. My contact on staff was slow in getting the information. I was going to dismiss it, but then he overheard screaming a few minutes before I came knocking. I eye him. You're telling me that you had me spied on, noticed that I had a visitor, but only came running because I screamed in my sleep? His smile fades into a slightly sheepish look. Ah, okay, well, obviously this is a big misunderstanding. And it's your uncle who has people spying on you, not me, and it's to look after your welfare. Sure it is. He's making sure I actually finish the job, finish Armand. Well, the hell with him, he's got no proof I'm lying. I know no one could have followed me onto the property at Armand's place, so no one could have spied on our interaction. For all anyone knows, the house was empty when I got there, just like I told Bradley. There's more of that resentment filling me up, as I stare back at this man who was hired by my uncle. I had a visitor last night. You know how hard it is to have privacy when you live with your damn uncle? And you will be so fired if he discovers that you were spying on me being intimate. He actually blushes. He might be a scumbag private investigator and my uncle's spy, but it's almost cute. I'm not going to say a damn thing to him about that. But why were you screaming? I have nightmares. Bad ones. I rub my temple. The cold feeling is spreading up from the pit of my belly, and the room feels like it's lurching a little with each heartbeat. What kind of nightmares make someone scream like that? The basement. The secret surgery. The white van. The freezer. Suddenly, I have to grab the wall. My heartbeat pounds in my ears. A whimper of panic escapes my throat. Miss Shea. Are you all right? It's not a nightmare. Dr. Weiss. I have to talk to Dr. Weiss. It's the last coherent thing I say before my knees hit the floor. Hard cold memory floods my head. The freezer. The face in the freezer. The face without eyes.
Chapter 13. Armand.
Walking outside in Denver in March is like walking into a freezer. I pull my wool topcoat closer around my body, despising the wind that cuts right through it the moment I leave the airport. But after 4 weeks of waiting and no damn word, I have to go after Marina. It's risky for both of us, me chasing after her. Her uncle is having her watched at all times, as I discovered the night we made love. I know I won't be able to get near her house. I'll have to tail her without being seen, and I know that finding an opportunity to reach out to her undetected will take time. I'm just glad I came to her hotel in disguise. Otherwise, they'd have known that I visited her without killing her. If they knew that, they might consider her suspect, and I can't let that happen. 2 disasters happened the night of our most intimate encounter, and I have to talk to Marina about both of them. But the man who came banging on the hotel room door, forcing me to sneak out via the balcony, drove her to the airport almost immediately. And now I have to find a way to reach her. I prioritize open communication with my partners regarding health and well-being. I've taken the necessary precautions to ensure my health, and it's not like I could get her knocked up even if I wanted to. But I really should let her know, just as a courtesy. The second part, though, is a lot more important, life and death even. Because if I don't fix things, there will definitely be consequences for her. And she's suffered enough. The interruption that morning prevented me from giving her the whole story about the hit on her father, including the name of her father's partner. But from the way she screamed in her sleep that morning, I have a feeling she's already remembering things. I don't know how much she witnessed of that whole horrible business. I know from my research that she's been in therapy ever since, and I hope it has helped her. But it doesn't seem like it has. How is it that she can't remember anything about her father still, even after 5 years? Maybe it's just that horrible. I couldn't wake her up from whatever that nightmare was, that morning in the hotel. I held her and shook her and tried to soothe her, but all she did was cry and struggle, and mumble something about a basement. That's the third reason I'm here. I don't know how safe she is, staying in that place with her father's partner. I get myself settled in a nice hotel room, and turn the heat in the suite up the moment I close the door. I have 2 matching sky blue suitcases with me, one of which was slipped onto the carousel for me by a black market courier whose day job is in baggage claim. You can't get weapons and gear through an airport these days. Specialized couriers have gotten rich off of increased security, and it is still easy enough to get what I need through customs. I have 2 plans as I draw the shades and then lay open the second suitcase on the bed. I use the bug finder to sweep the room, and thankfully find nothing. Then I pull my gear belt out and look at the array of pistols beneath. I have both of Marina's Walthers with me. I imagine she will want them back. In the meantime, I holster them both, one under my arm and one at the small of my back. My stiletto goes up my sleeve. I felt naked without my weapons while I traveled. I've felt that way any time I've been unarmed since I was 15, and now I relax a little. My sources tell me that Merina has therapy tomorrow morning at 10 in Denver, and that she usually decompresses by taking a walk in the park adjacent to her therapist's office. I will do my best to meet her there, without any of her uncle's men noticing. Meanwhile, the very thought of Marina has me excited, and since I can't look her up, I look up some local wine bars and think about braving the cold. I'll find some thirsty girl and seduce her, and try to stop brooding about the one I'm here to save. I'll probably be thinking of her the whole time, no matter what I do. What we had that night went beyond what I had planned. Waking up in her arms soothed something deep inside of me. Even as I steer my rental back onto the road with the wine bar's address on my GPS, I want that feeling of peace again. I don't realize how badly I've been craving it until I pull up in front of Marina's therapist's office instead of the bar. Crap, I mutter, starting to get worried about the effect she's having on me. I'm never this careless. But that doesn't change the fact that I need to talk to her. Breaking into Dr. Weiss's office is painfully simple. He's forgotten to set any kind of lock or alarm on his third-floor window. Of course, an ordinary man couldn't make the leap onto his tiny balcony from the car park rooftop. But I have been training longer than most parkourists have been alive. I'm in quickly enough, my gloved hands leaving no prints as I slip inside, close the window, and start looking around for her file using my night vision goggles. I'd care more about invading Marina's privacy if I wasn't here to save her life. Getting her number and talking to her tonight are all I'm thinking about. I want her to live. And if I'm being honest with myself, I just want to talk to her again. I'm not supposed to get attached. But that does not mean that I haven't. I end up having to do a brute force search to get the password for the 10-year-old desktop computer on the reception desk, but that doesn't take more than 10 minutes. Despite the aging equipment, every file is neatly copied online. It includes everything: phone numbers, addresses, diagnoses, case and session notes. When I find Marina's, I hesitate. I write down her phone number, but after that I stop and wonder if I should be looking. Maybe if I know more about what she is going through, I can figure out how to help her. Her mother lives in and around Europe, jet-setting on widow's money. Her divorce wasn't final when James died. I take down her contact information as well. I wonder if Marina has tried to speak with her since leaving me that morning. She was so distraught that I wonder if she's ready to handle it yet, no matter how desperate she might be for information. But we're running out of time. I'm sorry, cara mia. I must be a bit of a nosy creep if I am to do right by you. I open up her file notes. Diagnoses: post-traumatic stress disorder, non-complex dissociative amnesia complicated by delusions. Notes: patient presents with dissociative amnesia as a primary disorder, comorbid with PTSD. Both disorders appear to stem from a traumatic event of unknown origin that occurred in the basement of her family home. Her father, James Shea, referred her upon hospital release. I sit back. Wait a moment. She told me that her therapist told her that her amnesia came from trauma from her father's death. But if her father referred her well before then, so why was she told one story when there's a whole different one written down on the page? I read on. Initial attempts to unearth her lost memories through hypnotic regression and talk therapy seemed to lead to breakthroughs. However, the memories she unearthed appear to be a persistent delusion covering for some unknown and very real trauma. The delusion, although consistent, is thoroughly false, as it describes impossible activities in a non-existent location. Patient's delusion consists of falsely believing that her father was involved in criminal activity and was killed by a dashing vigilante. The idea is too far-fetched to be worth investigating. I let out a little laugh. Dashing vigilante? Is that what you whispered into your pillow at night when you started remembering things, you little devil? Well, then that is what I'll become. I'm rich enough to stop working for money, and we made a deal that I work for her now, until she releases me. And that's just what I'll tell her if she asks why I'm here. I steel myself to keep reading, but there's too much. I download the file onto a thumb drive and take it with me instead. Once I have a look, it'll be time to make some calls.
Chapter 14. Marina.
My period is late, and I wake up sick to my stomach. Has it been 4 weeks since my encounter at that Atlanta hotel? I lost track of time for a while, as Dr. Weiss was helping me put my head back together. I check my calendar. Yes, I flew out to Atlanta just under a month ago. I had my period a few days before that, so these symptoms are definitely not good signs. Damn. Anne, our cook, makes me a lean breakfast of chicken sausage, scrambled eggs, and strawberries. The sausage tastes too greasy, the eggs taste like they're dripping with butter. I nibble on a few berries and try to ignore the smell of everything else. Anne is 64 and never misses a damn thing. She squints at me, her wrinkled face pulling into a shrewd little frown. You expecting, girl? Your uncle is not going to like this. I can't keep the shake out of my voice. My uncle needs to mind his own damn business. I'm 20. Fine then, I'll mind your business. You go to the doctor? I'll go tomorrow, before therapy. I'm not sure I'm comfortable that anyone else even suspects. It's pretty scary to think about. She shrugs. You like the guy? I close my eyes, and my mind slips back to the man I still can't get out of my head, and the one night I had with him. I can bring myself off and enjoy it silently in my lonely bed, but it's a tiny watered-down thing compared to what I felt that night. He was worth the risk, I say simply, and she nods. Good. Either way you go, at least he wasn't some idiot. I burst out laughing, breaking the tension. Damn, Anne. It's true though. She squints at me again. You feeling okay? You were a real mess when they brought you back home. I wince. Don't remind me. It was so humiliating to have another breakdown. Now, I don't even remember what I was screaming about in Dr. Weiss's office the day that I got back. I wouldn't know what caused it either, if I hadn't feverishly written part of it down in my diary, right before my emergency therapy session. I don't even remember doing it, but I found it as soon as I came home. There were body parts in the basement. Dad was doing something down there. I looked up Burke and Hare after Armand brought them up. They stole bodies from the graveyard and sold them to artists and scientists for dissection. But the money was so good that they started killing people and selling their corpses. Don't forget this time. Don't forget. But I forgot Dream, and I was glad. It was all a delusion. We didn't actually know yet what had happened in that basement. Still, I kept the note and kept it hidden. I don't know why, maybe it fascinated me. It's like a secret message from another me. I feel better. But now I have to track down the guy they first was with that night, and that's going to be difficult. I am afraid I'll become unstable again if I go back to Atlanta. Uncle Bradley's right, it's best that I stay here. You'll manage. You still having those dreams? I fake a smile. Sometimes. It's still every night. HMPH. You still scared of the basement too? She lets out another grunt as I flinch slightly and drop my fork. That's a yes. Girl, there is nothing down there. You need to go down. Face your fear. You'll feel better once you do. Anne means well, and I give her a smile. I'm working on that. Work harder, she instructs. Life is short. I wish I could. I spend the day doing my usual routine, a jog, light training in my room, and a bit of meditation to try to sort out my memories. I understand that my mind made up a bizarre story to cover up the facts, and that I will need to figure out what is behind them. But the note in my diary, coupled with my possible pregnancy, isn't leaving me with much headspace today. I'm settling in for the night when my phone rings. Unknown number. I pick up. Hi, who's this? Are you alone? Armand's voice is low and urgent. I gasp. Don't hang up. While I try to form some coherent words, he goes on. I know you're being watched. I need to see you in private. It's urgent. Well, speak of the devil. Yeah, we should definitely talk. But I can't get out without being seen. Fine, then please hear me out. I'm guessing you never told anyone about our encounters together. The talking or the fighting? My voice breaks a little. My stomach is jumping around even worse. All of the above. No, of course not. I keep my voice low. So what is it? Meet with me tomorrow in the park after your therapy session. I will wait for you there, he urges. Look, I had a breakdown the last time we met in person. Maybe we should stick to the phone for now. I want to see him though, so badly that I can taste it. I am very sorry if I contributed to any trauma that the return of your memories may have caused. It was not my intent. I was only trying to explain the situation and warn you of the danger. What you did was feed into my delusions, I snap. My father wasn't some kind of body snatcher. It took my therapist weeks to help me get rid of those false memories. There's a long pause. False memories? Are you saying that he gets rid of your memories? I frown, puzzled. No, he helps me sort out which memories are true and which ones are delusions. Marina, he says in a tone of deep worry, those aren't delusions. That's ridiculous. Why would my therapist? I can't even finish the thought before another wave of nausea hits me, and I have to stop talking just to catch my breath. No, not now. Are you all right? I have to tell him. No, I very likely have morning sickness. So thanks for that too. An even longer silence, then he speaks breathlessly. What? I'm going to the doctor tomorrow. My heart's beating so hard that I have to listen around it. Have you had any other romantic partners lately? Never in my life, I snap defensively before realizing what I just said and blushing down to my damn toes. That just seems to stun him more. Never. Before me. No, I growl into the phone, half angry and half desperate. I've never even wanted anyone else. Not since the first time I saw you, you creep. Even knowing that you killed Dad. I came up with this whole false reality after Dad died. That he was a bad guy and you were saving me from him. All that just to try to justify a giant, stupid crush I have on my father's murderer. On you. That's a secret I hide even from my damn therapist. You've got me all messed up in the head. Tears spring to my eyes. I know I shouldn't be saying this. This is the first time I've ever even put all of this into words, but it's all just too much. It's all I can do to keep my voice down. Kara, he murmurs, and I let out a small sob. Now you've put a baby in me. How am I supposed to hide that from my family? I'm shaking. Come with me, he replies very softly. What? Leave that place. Come away with me. Bear the child. Even if you don't wish to stay, even if you don't wish to be a mother, leave the child with me. You'll be free of your family, and I'll give you anything you want. I have no idea what to say. He takes a shivery breath and goes on. I know that I have caused you years of trouble, even though I never meant you harm. I know that right now you're confused and don't know entirely who to trust. I beg you, ask your mother. About what happened, and about me. She was there. There's a pause, and I can tell he's unsure whether he should go on. But he does. And she and I have met. I feel a surge of bitter anger. My mother abandoned me. No. She was driven away to protect her own life. He pauses. Marina, leave that place. You are in danger there. Come to my hotel, and we will leave town together. Why do you want the child? I demand, because that, above everything else, shocks me. I understand his guilt over what he did to me. If he was remorseless, I wouldn't even bother speaking to him. I was told I could never be a father. I have wanted for years to retire from this life and try to have something more normal. A wife. Children. A quiet home. His voice is growing more impassioned. And it is one more reason why I must protect you. I swallow hard and glance at the door. Now and again, I have to check to make sure there's no shadow moving back and forth under it. My uncle likes to eavesdrop. Even if I wanted to leave, I can't. I'm too fragile. I have to stay home and get better. Marina. Your therapist was hired by your father and is paid by your uncle. He is serving an agenda. They are not delusions just because he tells you that they are. He adds with a little laugh, and you are far from fragile. Getting through this must have taken you more strength than I can imagine. I look over at the diary and open it to the scrawled entry. My father didn't hire Dr. Weiss though. He was already dead when I was referred. That's not what Dr. Weiss' notes say. My hand goes dead still above the page. What did you say? He tells me. I have a huge head of steam by the time I walk into Dr. Weiss's office the next morning. The temperature's risen above freezing. The melting ice from the eaves drips on me as I go through the front door of the 3-story building. I don't even notice. I'm having the same damn nightmares that I've had for 5 years. I have a witness saying that my mother can verify that my delusions are anything but, and I just found out that I'm expecting. I am in absolutely no mood to swallow anyone's bullshit. I want a copy of my file, I say firmly as I sit down with no preamble. Dr. Weiss is a soft-eyed man with an enormous mustache, white hair he seems to comb with an egg beater, and a dull expression that crumbles into worry at my statement. Those contain copies of my session notes. They're for my use, and it won't help your recovery to view them. You know, I just came from a doctor's office, and I had a talk with their HIPAA specialist while I was waiting for test results. I look him right in the eye. He's not used to this, and it clearly makes him nervous. I plow on. If you kept your notes separate from my case file, you could use any explanation you want to keep them from me using that argument. But you didn't, so you can't. He gapes at me. I have never lectured him before. I've always just accepted whatever he's told me, believing that he had my best interests at heart. It makes me furious, and that fury makes me feel incredibly strong. Bottom line, if I have to come back with a lawyer, it will be an opening salvo in a fat malpractice lawsuit. Marina, he laughs nervously, where is all this coming from? Maybe you should calm down. I close my eyes, struggling to focus through my anger. How many years have I depended on him to tell me what is real and what isn't? How many times have I let him hypnotize me? Armand says that this man has been lying to me the whole time. Now, I need to test that theory. I'm sorry to have to take a hard line about this. But everything is changing, and I need to know that I can trust you. For a moment, there's a note of pleading in my voice. This doctor was my rock for a while. Now, seeing his wide fake smile and fearful eyes, I hate him with my whole heart. Just let me see my file. Print a copy out for me. I'll pay any fees you want and we'll just go on from there. His Adam's apple bobs above his collar. No. The hatred detonates inside me. Then answer me this, how much money did my father pay you to convince me that my memories of his crimes are a damn delusion? He goes white as a ghost. I don't know what you're talking about. I close my eyes again, and tears leak through my lashes. Yes, you do. You're the opposite of a healer, you disgusting quack. I get up abruptly and grab my purse and coat. And I'm sick of listening to your lies. I call Armand while I'm walking to my car. I'm going home to pack. Where should I meet you? Crown Plaza, downtown, Suite 418. What happened? Dr. Weiss won't share my file. I called him on his shit and he fell apart. He's in on it. You're right about everything. Wait. Don't go, he starts, but I hang up because I've started choking on my tears. This is crazy, child, Anne says later as she helps me pack. Now, I've got to pack you up and sneak you out before your uncle comes home. Is this guy really worth it? It's a lot of things, not just him or the baby. I need to get away from my uncle for a while, Anne, and clear my head. I can't heal my problems while I'm dealing with his. I understand. And you know I'll always help you. Just like I promised when your mama left. I pause. I've never asked her about my mother. Dr. Weiss always urged me to move on from the abandonment and not even think about contacting her. And do you know why she left? She smiles a little. You must be getting better if you're asking that. It's a long story. Let me go get your other suitcase from the coat room and I'll be right back. She opens the door to walk out, and I see a familiar meaty hand yank her through the doorway as she lets out a startled yelp. Ouch, she cries. Dr. Shea, what is that needle? She stumbles into the room and falls against the wall, sliding down onto her butt with a thud. Her eyes are glazed. You drugged me, she manages before going limp. Uncle Bradley comes through the door and tosses an empty syringe at Anne's feet as she goes unconscious. I stare at him in growing horror as he draws out a full one and advances on me. Dr. Weiss gave me a call. Apparently, you're too stupid to find your own assassin. I knew our little charade with the hypnosis would never work long term, but it seems I'll have to deal with you myself now. He licks his lips, a psychotic gleam in his eye. So on to plan B. I'm sure your organs will sell well. I back away from him, horrified. Of course, my father's partner in crime would be his brother. All this time he's been keeping me close, paying a hypnotist to alter my memories, watching me, and grooming me to destroy myself by going after the very assassin he hired to do me in. It was you all along, I breathe as the pieces snap together in my head painfully, like bones being set.
Yep, he replies cheerily.
Time to go to the basement, Marina.
Chapter 15. Armand.
It takes every ounce of willpower I have to keep to the speed limit as I drive to Marina's rescue. All I can think about is what her uncle will do to her once it reaches his ears that his psychological con job hasn't stuck. She's a witness. He'll kill her himself before she can go to the police. That can't happen. By the time I reach their fancy stone villa, the sun has almost set. I know Marina must be home by now. Alone. Vulnerable. Carrying my child in her belly. I wish I could have just told her up front about her uncle and what I suspected about her psychiatrist. But they set traps in her head to turn her away from the truth, even if it was right in front of her. I'm only lucky that she never mentioned meeting me. The door is locked and alarmed. There's a conspicuous lack of staff around. I clamber up a rose trellis and slip in through a second-floor window. Almost at once, I hear the sounds of a fight coming from down the hall. Pulling one of Marina's Walthers from beneath my coat, I go racing toward it. I'm about to burst through the open door where the sounds are coming from, when a tall, fat figure staggers out of it and falls against the wall. It's Bradley. His face is swelling on one side, and his eyes are wide with horror. My fear for Marina turns into mirth as she stomps out after him and kicks him hard in the stomach. A syringe flies from his hand and shatters on the floor. You sick, murdering, lying creep. I can't help it. I burst into mocking laughter. Both of them look over at me, startled. And then Marina, untouched, angry little Marina, who has trained for years to kill a professional assassin and is beyond fearing some soft, lazy old man, smiles at me. You made it. Wouldn't miss it. What happened? She attacked me. Blubbers Bradley, though no one asked him. You dumb fool. It was your idea to have me go after Armand. Don't you think I'd learn to fight if I knew I was facing a seasoned assassin? She's yelling at him like he's the stupidest lump of cowardly human meat on the planet, which seems pretty accurate right now. I'm so proud. She's not broken or helpless. She just had people lying to her for so long and so expertly that she believed it. But now she's back. Well, yes, he blubbers. But I never expected you to get good at it. Happy to surprise you then, you creep. She turns to me. I'll need to call the police and an ambulance for Anne. You should probably make yourself scarce soon. I'll meet you later. No. Bradley explodes and yanks a small revolver from his robe pocket. I am not going to jail. I legal the Walther at him. Drop it. He freezes and looks at me with the gun half raised, his red face coated in sweat and crocodile tears, and then looks over at Marina. His voice goes pleading as his expression crumples. They were just homeless people. Better people needed their organs. We were saving lives. You were making a profit, you pile of crap, Marina spits at him. He screams in anguish and moves fast. I'm faster, but when I see who he's aiming at, I let him pull the damn trigger. Sometimes you have to let the trash take itself out. As his body slumps to the floor, dead of his own cowardice, I step past him and gather Marina into my arms. She hugs me back tightly. Are you all right? I whisper in her ear. I think I pulled a muscle or two kicking his ass, she says casually, but I can sense the exhaustion and fear behind her sarcasm. My arms tighten around her, and she tucks her head under my chin. I'll be okay. But Anne needs our help. She's been drugged. I glance down at the woman lying just inside the bedroom door. She's breathing steadily and her eyelids flutter. Looks like a tranquilizer. It's best if you make that call. She looks up at me. I don't want you to go. Meet me at the hotel when it's done. You can do this. But you won't be able to do it if half of Denver PD is chasing me around. She nods and sighs. I understand. I'll see you there. It's hard to walk away, even with the danger over. I don't want her facing the police, the hospital, the press, any of it alone. But she's already proven that she doesn't need me. She just wants me. Unexpectedly. Maybe undeservedly. And even with all the madness that just happened, that's the best feeling in the world. The end.
Sneak peek for Saved by the Boss. We hope you enjoyed listening to His Secret Baby by Michelle Love. Now please listen to a sneak peek for Saved by the Boss by Michelle Love. Saved by the Boss, a doctor romance.
Chapter 1. Seattle.
Romy shoved her chestnut brown hair up into a ponytail as she jogged quickly along the hospital corridors. Damn Seattle traffic. She had been so organized right up until she'd hit the traffic accident on the Alaskan Way viaduct. Now she'd missed the first few minutes of rounds, and on the worst possible day. So not a good first impression to make. Still cursing herself, she hurried to catch up with her colleagues in the general surgery department. Rounding the corner at a fast clip, she heard his voice before she saw him, a deep mellifluous tone which she knew made woman weak. She might never have met the man, but his voice was as legendary as his surgical skills. Oh yeah. And his body. People talked about that in the same breath as his medical accomplishments. He spoke again, and she thrilled at the husky hint of an accent, Italian maybe, in it. If the infection worsens, we'll consider a shunt, but in all likelihood it will resolve rapidly since it was caught at the outset. Romy blinked in surprise at the words. Blue Allende, he of the oh-so-sensual voice, was a superstar surgeon. Not even 40 years old, he was at the top of his game, and also at the top of most hospitals' wish lists. With the reputed looks of a movie star, and the serious, brooding intelligence of someone a lot older, Blue Allende's reputation preceded him. So why was he standing around with the motley crew of doctors, nurses, and interns, discussing something as mundane as a shunt? It gave her pause, and jump-started her liking for the man who apparently wasn't your average arrogant genius surgeon. But Romy was still late, and no doctor appreciated tardiness, particularly not one with such a packed schedule. Damn it. Stopping outside the door, she saw a bunch of other residents, and slipped in among them, hoping she wouldn't be noticed and knowing she didn't stand a prayer. Her friend Mac, an affable African-American with a sweet face and a wicked sense of humor, grinned and nudged her. Late for the rockstar sass, he hissed, genius move. Romy poked him with her elbow, rolling her eyes. What did I miss? Suddenly the crowd of doctors parted, and she saw him where he'd been leaning over a sedated patient. Her breath caught in her throat as Blue Allende turned bright green eyes on her. All the usual hospital noises faded into the background as she was caught in that fiercely intelligent gaze. Geez, Romy thought, this man doesn't belong in an operating theater. He belongs on a catwalk or on the cover of Vogue. He was gorgeous. The bright green eyes were surrounded by thick black eyelashes on a face carved from Italian marble. A shock of dark curls fell messily about his head, then she noticed his wide sensual mouth set in a thin line. Ah damn. She'd like to have seen that mouth in something other than a scowl. Dr. Sass, welcome. That voice from up close. Well. And he knew her name? Romy prayed not to stutter. Apologies for my tardiness, Dr. Allende. It won't happen again. Was that a hint of amusement that flashed in those devastatingly beautiful eyes, and maybe a slight hitching up of the mouth? No sooner had Romy thought she'd seen it than it was gone. He turned back to his patient, and Romy was grateful he hadn't shamed her in front of everyone else. One more point in his favor, big time. Got away with it, Mac muttered in her ear, and Romy sighed with relief. As they moved through rounds, she was impressed by Allende's in-depth knowledge of his cases and the way he coaxed the residents to find answers to his questions, rather than merely lecturing. Even when they got a fact wrong, he didn't sneer or bark at them. Furthermore, he treated patients like friends, addressing them with as much candor as compassion, taking his time rather than rushing right along. More than slightly blown away by the whole picture, Romy watched him carefully, and was confused when she spotted him in an unguarded moment when the group was discussing a situation and he apparently thought no one was paying attention to him. Also not typical. Grandstanding surgeons believed the spotlight was always on them. In that brief second, though, she saw something in his eyes that she recognized all too well. Pain. Sorrow. Romy was so distracted by the revelation that she didn't realize the focus had shifted and everyone was staring at her. Suddenly feeling the heat of their stares, she swallowed hard, flushing. I'm sorry, Dr. Allende, could you repeat the question? The amused look was back, displacing sorrow. I was asking if you could give me the ways we can use to diagnose ankylosing spondylitis? Romy cleared her throat. Of course. She ran through the options and then concluded, of course the disease is notoriously hard to diagnose, and once identified, it usually is a case of pain management. Opioids have little effect pain-wise, but we could try a plant-based therapy as a last resort. Hail Mary, said the patient, a young man in his 20s, and they all laughed. As a last resort, Billy. Blue smiled, and Romy felt warmth bloom through her chest and ripple down her spine. It lit up his handsome face, and her whole body responded instinctively. Stop it, she told herself, do not get a crush on your boss. After rounds, Blue asked to see her in his office. He motioned to the chair opposite his desk, and Romy sat down, trembling with nervousness. Was she about to be bawled out for being late? Don't look so scared, he said mildly, his tone neutral but somehow still warm. It's just an introduction. I didn't get to meet you like the other residents. From someone else, that would have sounded passive-aggressive. From him, it came across as oddly sincere. I'm sorry for being late, Dr. Allende, she apologized. Happens to us all. Before she could blink at that, he picked up a file and opened it. Dr. Romy Sass, age 29, graduated top of your class at Stanford, did your internship and part of your residency at Johns Hopkins. Why transfer here for your last year? Johns Hopkins was very reluctant to let you go, we had to fight for you. Old memories made her cold inside. I had to come home to Seattle? Personal reasons. Also, my mother is getting married rather unexpectedly. And she needs you to be here? Romy hesitated. No, it's not that, but... But what? Romy sighed. It was none of his business, but she owed him this much after being late. My sisters, Juno and Artemis, asked me to come. I'm the middle sister, the peacemaker. They have some concerns about Mom's fiancé. Really? Blue looked interested, even though Romy couldn't for the life of her figure out why. Or why she just kept talking. It's not that he's a bad person, though I still haven't officially met him yet. But he's so entirely not what we thought Mom would go for. Abruptly, she halted, catching herself in mid-ramble. I'm sorry, you really don't need to know this. No, please go on. Romy frowned. Well, then you should know, my mom is a free spirit, a rainbow child, a hippie. Look at our names. Blue smiled. Okay, so Juno and Artemis I get, but Romy? Short for Romulus. Yes, I know it's technically a boy's name, but you see, I was a twin. Fraternal. My brother Remus, died when we were 5 years old. Gosh, the pain of it still haunted Romy. Mom thought I was a boy too when she was pregnant, hence the name. So your name is actually Romulus? She was grateful he didn't press her for more details about Remy. No, she managed to change it at the last moment on the birth certificate. Romy is my legal name. And you don't like your future stepfather? I don't know him. Suddenly Blue grinned. I think your mom and Stuart Eames will be just fine. Romy gaped at him in astonishment. How the hell? He laughed, and his face looked even more desperately handsome than ever. Believe it or not, I wasn't interrogating you without an actual purpose. You see, Romy sass, Stuart Eames is my father. So technically, we're about to be siblings. Welcome to the family, Romy.
Chapter 2.
Romy was still shell-shocked when she went to her mother's house that evening. Part of it was admittedly from the additional time she'd spent giddily talking in Blue's office. He'd insisted she call him that, and the rest was entirely due to his revelation. Why didn't you tell me Stuart was Blue Allende's father? Magda Sass looked up from the cutting board and grinned at her middle daughter's abrupt greeting. Hello to you too. Because, dear one, Blue said he didn't want you to know right away. He wanted you to be on his service, and thought you might not want to if you knew. Your reputation as a first-class doctor precedes you, honey, and I'm very proud. Romy smiled and hugged her mother. Thank you, Mama Bear. Anyway, Blue told me he will be with us for Thanksgiving. Upon hearing that, she'd been hard-pressed to keep it together in the surgeon's office. Blue in her home, having dinner with her family, why was that weirdly hot? Will it be awkward? Her mother asked in concern. Romy hoisted herself up onto the kitchen counter and stole a piece of bell pepper Magda was slicing for salad. I don't think so. Well, at least I hope not. He's a pretty even-tempered guy. Magda smiled. You like him? Gosh, yes. He's the most attractive man I've ever met. Yeah, he's nice. Nice was an understatement. He's an incredible surgeon. Watching him is like watching a maestro at work. Speaking of maestros, Magda often changed the direction of conversations on a whim, so Romy wasn't fazed. Your sister has a new job. She's going to work for Livia's foundation as a lecturer. Romy's eyebrows shot up. She is. Juno's moving out? Her youngest sister, Juno, was the sister who most resembled their free-spirited mother. Tall and willowy with a shock of messy blonde hair, and a confirmed tomboy, Juno Sass had made music her first love and passion from a young age. She was the cherished baby of the family, and Romy had half suspected she'd never leave. She is, Magda confirmed, a touch of melancholy in her voice. Eternally supportive of her daughters though she was, Romy knew her mother would struggle with empty nest syndrome. Although I'm trying desperately not to think about that day. She's starting in the new year, so at least we'll have Christmas as a family. With Stuart's family too? Magda shot her a nervous look. Well, yes. If that's okay with you and Artie. Why wouldn't it be? Romy asked. Magda sighed. There is some, how can I put it, some unpleasantness with Stuart's wife. Hopefully soon-to-be ex-wife, if she ever signs the damn papers. She keeps harassing Stuart, usually through her son. Romy raised an eyebrow, not liking the sound of that. What's the son's name again? Gaius. I've only met him once, but he seems friendly enough. Hasn't Blue ever mentioned him? We're careful to keep family stuff away from work, and I don't actually socialize with Blue Allende, remember? We'd never even met until today. He might be my brother soon, but he's still in a league of his own. Romy grinned as Magda rolled her eyes. You mean you don't socialize at all? Romy, you're beautiful, you're young. Don't let what happened in New York stop you from living your life. Romy grimaced, feeling the familiar cold feeling at the memories. Mom? Dacre doesn't know I'm back home, and if he finds out, he'll come here and… Gosh, I don't want to imagine. Her mother looked down at her hands as they continued to move swiftly, her knife skills in the kitchen as good as any surgeon's were in an operating theater. I hate that you were with him. You're too young to have gone through a divorce or anything else he did to you. Romy marshaled her emotions, reminding herself that those days were long past. She was safe now, however much Dacre Mortimer was an animal. Her leg still hurt from where he'd stamped on it and broken it the previous year, at the same time that he'd almost beaten her to death. Look, at least I learned a lesson, Romy said to her mother now. Don't go on first impressions. Dacre was Mr. Charm until he wasn't. Was that a dig at me? Magda didn't sound upset, just sad. Because I know Stuart and I haven't known each other that long. Romy hopped down to kiss her mother's cheek and gave her a warm hug. Mom, no, it wasn't a dig at you, more one at myself. Magda smiled in relief. Romy, I have never felt like this. Not even with your father, she added apologetically. I figured with Dad. Romy nodded, unsurprised. Romy's father, a professor of Magda's back in the day, had never been present much in his daughters' lives. He supported them financially, but soon after Juno had been born, he and Magda had quietly and amicably divorced, and James Sass had remarried and moved to London. Being a single mother didn't faze Magda, and she'd somehow kept her girls clothed and fed as they grew, bringing them all up to be independent young people who never depended on someone else. The loss of Remy, Romy's brother, had shattered them all, but the four women were as close now as they had ever been. Artemis, Magda's eldest, had followed her father into the teaching profession and now taught physics at the University of Washington. Romy had headed for medical school as soon as she graduated from Harvard, and Juno was a musical prodigy. The one thing James had provided was money for their education, and Magda was grateful for that, she often told Romy. Magda had been brought up in a hippie commune, and she'd carried those values her whole life, finally having reached a point in her life where she could sculpt for a living. Which was why Romy and her sisters had been astounded to hear that Magda was about to marry a multi-billionaire. Stuart Eames had made his fortune in tech, and had such a large share of the tech market that no one could compete. Romy was looking forward to meeting the billionaire who had captured her mother's laid-back heart. A random thought occurred to her as she reached for the salad bowl and started to assemble the various ingredients her mother had diced. How come Blue has a different last name? Magda drained the pot of rice she was cooking. He's Stuart's son from an affair. Romy's eyebrows shot up. I think his mother was Italian, Magda went on, confirming at least that suspicion, though Romy was far more interested in the other revelation. So? Stuart had an affair? Magda gave her a warning look. Darling, if you had ever met his wife, you wouldn't blame him. Though Magda was far from conservative, she was fiercely loyal, and it was an unusual stance for her to take. Nevertheless, Romy decided to let it go, at least until she'd had a chance to cross-examine Eames and ensure that he wasn't about to cheat on her mother. Because if he did, she and her sisters would have plenty to say. Mom, she said, suddenly noticing how much food her mother was preparing, you realize there's only 4 of us, right? 5, Magda flushed bright red and ducked her head. Stuart's joining us. Oh, getting in an introduction under the wire, huh? Romy grinned. I guess I should help you with the rest of dinner, then. Stuart Eames had the same bright green eyes as his son, but his hair was close-cropped and white. He had an easy smile that Romy liked, and a friendly manner which made the party all feel at ease. He greeted them all with utmost respect. It's so good to finally meet you. Magda is so proud of you all. Juno, curling herself into a chair, grinned at him. I assure you, we don't deserve it. Artemis, her blonde hair falling gracefully to her shoulders, shot her younger sister a warning look. Don't tease Juno? Stuart laughed. No, don't stop teasing. Blue and I are always busting each other's chops. It's what families are supposed to do. Speaking of which, do you mind if I just have a quiet word with your mom about something? I swear it'll take no more than 5 minutes. Sure thing. Left alone, the sisters looked at one another. He's cute, Juno decided, and Artemis chuckled. Can you call a 60-year-old cute? Artemis smoothed her skirt down over her long legs, crossing them elegantly. Romy sighed. Of all the Sass sisters, she was the odd one out, dark-haired, dark-eyed, and small in stature, if not in figure. Where her sisters were all long limbs and athletic, Romy was curvy, thick, and petite. She still worked out as much as her siblings, but her figure was always going to be soft instead of athletic like them. Juno and Artemis took after their mother. Romy didn't know where she'd gotten her curves from. She barely remembered what her father looked like. Oh, she knew people considered her beautiful, but she never played it up. Slightly myopic from a young age, she wore glasses instead of contacts, and stuffed her long, thick chestnut hair up into a messy bun more often than not. Juno poked her with a foot now. Will you be coming to our traditional Thanksgiving run this year? Giving her sister a cheesy smile, Romy said, sadly, I'll be working. Roms? Sorry? Romy sang in a not-so-at-all voice. She loathed running, unless it was towards something. Like pizza. Juno sulked while Artemis grinned at Romy. Nice work, Romy. And what with my broken ankle? What broken ankle? Juno shot her eldest sister a confused look. The one I'll mysteriously acquire on Thanksgiving. Artemis laughed and high-fived Romy. Don't blame me when the pair of you get old and fat. Juno sighed dramatically. Then, lowering her voice, she nodded towards the kitchen where Stuart and their mother talking. What do you think? Too early to say. He looks like Blue a little. Same eyes. Juno grinned. You got a little crush, Romulus? Romy threw a pillow at her. None of your business, Quisling. Dinner was a fun affair, and Romy decided she liked Stuart very much. He was charming, intelligent, and seemed to adore her mother. Romy noticed, however, that Artemis was a little quieter than normal, and when she questioned her sister afterward, Artemis shrugged. I'm just reserving judgment is all, Romy. We don't know him that well yet. Romy went to work the next day, wondering if she should mention Stuart to Blue, but when she walked into the locker room, the place was in a chaotic state with people running every which way. What's going on? She asked, preparing herself mentally and physically for what would likely be a long haul. There's been an attack at a sorority house, Mac told her, his face pale. Really nasty stuff. 8 girls, 3 dead. The rest are being brought in here. Allende is already operating. Every time she thought she was used to the darker side of her profession, Romy got a reality check. Because truthfully, there was no way to ever get used to innocents slaughtered. Reaching for her scrubs automatically, she asked, Does he want us in the observation room? No. They heard Blue's voice behind them and turned. Clad in bloodstained scrubs, the handsome surgeon looked weary and grim-faced. Romy, you're with me in OR3, Mac with Dr. Fredericks in OR7, Jim, Molly, and Flynn, emergency room until we can find theaters for the less injured girls. Come on, Romy. She changed, and was back in under a minute. Blue briefed her, on the way to theater. Patient is Yasmin Levant, 19, multiple stab wounds, shattered left femur, looks like the killer stamped on it, possibly to incapacitate her. We've got ortho coming in, but her abdominal wounds are catastrophic, at least 29 separate wounds. Gosh, poor girl. Blue nodded as they went to scrub. Look, Romy, we're going to do everything and anything to save her, but I have to warn you. The odds are against us. She'd expected as much, sadly, but appreciated the warning anyway. After scrubbing, Romy followed him into the operating room where the victim lay on the table. She was covered in blood and barely breathing, blood bags and saline trying to keep her alive. Automatically, Romy avoided looking at anything but the injuries. Looking at the faces right off the bat when the situation was so dire, it didn't help things. For hours they operated, trying to repair the damage the knife had caused, pumping her full of blood, but at midnight Blue called it. There was nothing else to do. Yasmin Levant was dead.
Chapter 3.
The adrenaline leaving her system, Romy felt weirdly emotional, horrified and drained by the experience. She waited until almost everyone had left the room before walking up to Yasmin's head. Finally looking at the young girl's still pale face, her dark hair blood-soaked to an auburn color, Romy saw herself reflected in the victim's silent, still features. She whispered a silent apology for her failure and started removing the tubes from her throat. "The nurses will do that," Blue said gently, putting his hand on her back. Romy, unable to speak, just shook her head, and eventually Blue began to help her, both working in silence until all the medical equipment had been cleared away, and Yasmin lay on the table silent and still, but at least with slightly more dignity. "Can I wash her face?" Romy found her voice breaking as she asked, but Blue, his eyes sad, shook his head. "No, we have to keep her secure for the forensic team now. Even all of our equipment will need to be saved. The police will probably want a statement from all of us." Romy looked back down at Yasmin, and a sob choked its way out of her. Who would do this? Why? She felt Blue draw her away from the victim then, and wrap his arms around her. It wasn't what colleagues usually did, but Romy allowed it because she needed it. She leaned into him, tears filling her eyes. "I wish I could tell you it gets easier in these cases, Romy, but it doesn't," he said softly, his voice achingly sad and kind. "The vile things people do to other humans, sometimes there is no reason why. Sometimes people are monsters." Romy nodded and looked up at him, wiping her eyes. "I know the type." Blue stopped, and his green eyes were intense on hers. For a long moment they gazed at each other before, blushing, Romy gave an awkward smile and stepped away. "I'm okay now. We'd better go talk to the family." Of course. There was pain in that beautiful voice of his, and Romy wanted to hold him and comfort him as he had done with her, but Blue walked away. She followed him, running slightly to keep up with his long stride. He dwarfed her 5'2" by at least a foot, and suddenly he slowed down. "Sorry, Piccolo, I'll try not to walk so fast." "Piccolo." "Little one," he explained, the tenderness in his voice tugging at her heart as much as the hint of a smile. Then as they neared the relative's room, his smile faded. "Is this your first one?" "First murder." Romy's heart began to beat out of her chest. Blue nodded, squeezing her hand. "Just follow my lead." They knocked and walked in. A middle-aged woman, terrified, was sitting down, her arms wrapped around herself, and when she saw their faces, she moaned. "No, no, no, no." A man, her husband, his face etched with pain, stood. "Doc? Please don't tell me." "I'm so sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Levant. Despite our best efforts, Yasmin's injuries were too severe and she died a short time ago." The woman collapsed in a sobbing, weeping huddle, and Blue kept talking to her husband as Romy moved to try and comfort Yasmin's mother. "There are no words for the regret we feel at your loss." Trying futilely to soothe the mother's unsoothable grief, Romy listened to Blue talk first to Yasmin's father, then watched him take a turn gently addressing her bereft mother, comforting both as best as he could, answering all of their questions patiently and as fully as possible. But the truth was, the one question would never be adequately answered. Why? Romy's chest was tight with sorrow, but she maintained her composure. Afterward they talked to the police, those questions prolonging the endless night even further. Finally, as dawn began to break over Seattle, Romy went back to the locker room to change out of her bloody scrubs. The room was empty and echoed with each footstep and slam of the locker door. Somehow managing to drag on her jeans and shirt, Romy slumped onto a bench afterward and put her head in her hands. The adrenaline from the surgery was long gone, and now she felt wrecked. Her hip and leg ached from standing too long, but she ignored the pain, trying not to break down. She failed, and silent hot tears poured down her face. She buried her face in her hands to cry, her entire body trembling. She heard him come in. It was impossible not to in the silence, but she didn't expect to feel his arms go around her for the second time that evening. Gently, he drew her head to his chest. His clean soap and spice smell was familiar now, and Romy pressed her face into his sweater, breathing him in. He stroked her hair and whispered soft Italian words, resting his chin on her head and just letting her weep. When she finally stopped crying, she looked up at him. His eyes were sad, but he held her gaze for a moment before brushing his lips against hers just briefly. It was clear from the look on his face that he'd intended it as no more than a reassurance, but the heat that instantly flared between them changed those intentions. They both felt it, so there was not even the slightest chance of denying the chemistry. Blue gently framed her face with his hands. "Are you sure, Romy?" His voice was low, steady, and sent a wave of warmth through her. "Is it wrong?" she whispered, searching his eyes. "She just died. How can we?" "Life has to go on, Piccolo," he said softly. "We honor those we've lost by continuing to live, fully and deeply. But if this doesn't feel right to you, I'll understand." "Truly." Romy hesitated. Then, her voice trembling, she whispered, "No?" "Yes." She slid her fingers into his dark curls and kissed him, needing closeness, comfort, something real to hold on to. The kiss was deep and emotional, not rushed, filled with the kind of intensity born of grief and connection. Blue stood, lifting her gently into his arms as if she were weightless. He carried her into the on-call room, kicked the door closed behind them, and quietly turned the lock. He set her down and brushed her cheek with his knuckles. Their eyes met, and Romy saw admiration in his gaze, no judgment, only understanding. "You're beautiful," he murmured. She gave a soft smile and reached up to touch his chest. They removed the rest of the space between them without a word, exchanging soft touches and tender gestures. The moment was quiet, grounded, and full of unspoken meaning. He held her close, and they moved together as one, no urgency, no need to rush. Just presence. Just peace. When emotion overcame her, tears surprised even Romy herself. Blue wrapped her in his arms and kissed her temple with such tenderness that her heart ached. "Don't cry, Piccolo," he whispered. "You're safe with me." She stroked his face, unable to find words, and simply held him close. Later, curled up together, her head resting over his heart, she let the calm settle around her like a blanket. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. She nodded and smiled, brushing his cheek with her thumb. "More than okay. Strangely at peace." Blue gave a small, wry grin. "Maybe not the best timing, but I felt connected to you since the moment we met." Romy was amazed. "Me?" He laughed. "Yes, why is that so hard to believe? You're beautiful, smart, funny, the whole package. Who wouldn't want you? But you could be with anyone, Blue. Literally anyone. And I choose you, Romy." He exhaled slowly. "Even knowing it won't be easy, not just at work, but with our families too." Romy groaned, rubbing her face with her hands. "I didn't even think about that. Gosh. Maybe we should keep this," she gestured between them, cheeks flushing, "just between us for now." Blue nodded, his grin playfully mischievous. "I'm not opposed to keeping you all to myself." She laughed, nudging his shoulder. "I'm serious." "I know," he said, the teasing fading from his voice. "Secret liaisons, though? There's something kind of exciting about that." He kissed her gently, pressing his lips to her neck, then her mouth. "Can't get enough of these lips." Romy smiled into the kiss, but when they pulled apart, her expression turned thoughtful. "This is complicated. You're technically my boss. Our families are already intertwined. I just think we need to be careful. Quiet. That is, assuming this wasn't a one-time thing." He shook his head, his voice sincere. "It's not. Not for me. But I agree, we keep it private for now. Maybe next time somewhere a little less fluorescent." He glanced around the staff on-call room with a wry smile. But tonight, emotions were running high. I needed this. I needed you. She was touched. Reaching up, she cupped his cheek. Well, you've got me. Just off the record, okay? I've worked too hard to risk my career. I understand completely, Romy. He leaned his forehead to hers, his voice soft. And I hate to say it, but rounds start in 3 hours. We both need sleep. Yeah, she sighed. Time to head home. Separately, she added, smiling when he chuckled. They managed, barely, to pull themselves together and get dressed without falling back into each other's arms. Down in the parking lot, Blue stole a final quiet kiss beneath the early morning sky. You're extraordinary, he murmured. I'll see you in a few hours. Take your time, I'll cover for you. Romy caught the way he watched her as she drove off, her thoughts spinning. He made her feel alive again, in ways she hadn't since before Dacre. There was passion, yes, but also something else, safety. Care. Maybe even something real. Keeping their connection a secret wouldn't be easy. But as she watched him fade into the rearview mirror, one thing was clear. It was definitely worth the risk.
Chapter 4.
At home, Romy set an alarm for 2 hours and fell onto her bed still fully clothed. She groaned when the alarm went off and hauled herself out of bed, finally discarding her work clothes and stepping into the shower. As she ate a quick breakfast, she flicked on the television and watched the reports of the murders. It was an awful idea, but she needed to see it somehow, as though it helped atone slightly for being unable to save Yasmin. As thought it might help her understand even slightly. The 4 deceased young women, savagely attacked in their sorority house, have now been named as Rebecca Folsom, 20, Una White, 19, Madeline Culpepper, 21, and the youngest victim, Yasmin Levant, who at just 18 died last night of her wounds at the Rainier Hope Hospital. Hospital officials say that their best surgeons worked tirelessly to save Miss Levant, but she succumbed to her injuries in the early hours of this morning. Police say the attacker broke in through an open window and attacked each girl in her bedroom before leaving the premises. So far, no suspects have been identified, but the murders mirror a similar case in New York 2 years ago. Romy swallowed the last of her cereal, feeling sick. She'd forgotten all about the murders in New York. Gosh, there were monsters everywhere. She remembered her own personal monster, the midnight beatings, unwanted intimacies. Face it, Sass. He crossed a boundary no one had the right to. He took what you never gave. Creep? She drove into work and was assailed by her friends, wanting to know about working with Blue in an emergency situation. Romy, exhausted, was grateful when Mac rescued her, shooing everyone away and bearing her off to the cafeteria. Allende sent me. He saw you come in and knew you'd get caught by the pack. Damn hyenas. Romy smiled at him and at Blue's thoughtfulness. Mac, if it had been someone else but me, we would have been hyenas too. Mac shrugged. Fair point. Are you okay? You look done in. It was a long night. In more ways than one. Is Dr. Allende all right? He had it worse than me. He looks good, but then he always does. True story. Mac grinned at her. So you're not immune to the good doctor's charisma then? I thought you were the one holed out. Romy cursed silently but faked a smile. I'm here to work, not get laid. I'm just saying, out of all us, I reckon you'd be his type. Romy shrugged off the conversation. Did you hear the news this morning? The murders in New York? The same as here. Yeah. Geez, humans, huh? Humans. She agreed. Her pager went off a second before Max. We're summoned. It was evening before she even saw Blue again. There was so much paperwork from the murders and the subsequent medical procedures that Romy was sequestered with a police team most of the day. They went over everything again and again. Romy told them again how Yasmin Levant had been stabbed, that her abdominal artery had been shredded, that she had simply bled out before they could attempt any kind of repair. What about her left femur? Dead. Halsey asked her eventually. Did your orthopedic department attend the surgery? Romy nodded. But to be honest, it was secondary to the abdominal wounds. I'm not an expert, but I assume he or she broke her femur to subdue her enough that she couldn't fight him or her off. We're pretty sure it's a him, Halsey said quietly. Romy, overtired, bristled. Because women aren't strong enough to do that to a person? Halsey held his hands up. I meant no offense, Dr. Sass. We found DNA on the victim. Male DNA. Romy backed down. I'm sorry. Bad day. Of course. Look, we need to talk about the survivor's injuries. We got the report that they weren't as serious as the deceased victims. No, that was strange, Romy said. They were badly beaten, and they'll probably need serious psychiatric counseling, but yeah, it is odd that he didn't finish the job, so to speak. Gosh. And Ms. Levant was the only one with a broken femur? Romy's own leg ached and she rubbed it unconsciously. Detective, the femur is the longest, strongest bone in the human body. The force it takes to break it, it would take anger. Rage? It's sadistic too, but then that's what we're talking about here, isn't it? He's a sadist. He is, the detective agreed, then smiled kindly at her. You'll tell your friends to be careful when they leave at night? Romy gave a hollow laugh. Detective, you're talking about everyday life for a woman in this world. Not even halfway through her shift, Romy was hollowed out through and through. She didn't know if she even had the strength to walk out of the hospital for a breath of fresh air, when Blue appeared in the break room. He didn't say a word, helping himself to coffee nonchalantly before stepping into the supply closet. She knew he was giving her a chance to choose, and choose she did. Dragging herself out of her seat, she joined him in the small room and locked the door. This isn't keeping it out of work, Dr. Allende. Blue reached for her. Shut up and kiss me, woman. He kissed her with intensity, his arms circling her waist and drawing her close. Romy melted into him for a moment, her weariness forgotten in the warmth of his embrace. But then reality tugged at her thoughts. Gosh, I want you, but, she murmured, gently stepping back. She gave him a teasing look and wagged her finger. Bad boy? He chuckled. Come home with me tonight and I'll show you just how mischievous I can be. Romy hesitated, her heart tugging toward him. Those green eyes, that smile, the quiet strength in the way he looked at her. Piccolo, he said softly, his arms loosening but still holding her close. Only if you want to. It's been a long 2 days. Another time if that's better. No. Romy made her decision, a quiet confidence rising in her chest. I'm off tomorrow. I can take the risk. Blue's face lit up with a grin. Oh, you're off tomorrow? What a coincidence, so am I. Romy laughed, her heart lighter than it had been in days. What are the odds? Come here. They kissed again, slower this time, savoring the moment. Romy rested her hand over his chest, feeling the beat of his heart beneath her palm. He pressed his face into the curve of her neck, holding her like she was something precious. It's a good thing we've got the day off, he murmured, voice thick with heat. Because after I'm done with you, walking straight might be a challenge. Is that right? Gosh, yes. Romy giggled as he pretended to ravish her. Easy, soldier. You're the one who's not going to be able to walk properly, and we still have rounds. Spoil sport. Get over it, Doc. Romy's body felt electrified all day at the thought of what Blue had promised. That electricity gave her a much-needed boost that, paired with caffeine, got her through the remainder of the long hours. But as the day wound down and she walked down to the concession stand to grab a new toothbrush, she groaned inwardly as she saw a tall, blonde, and very familiar figure looping towards her. Yo, sis. Juno grinned, flinging her long arms around her diminutive sister. Hey, Boo, what are you doing here? Just finished a class, and wanted to say hi. Also to check out the famous Doc, is he here? Romy opened her mouth to answer just as Blue came toward her, grinning. She gave a quick, almost imperceptible shake of the head, and cut her eyes to Juno. Blue slowed his pace, his smile faltering in confusion. Dr. Allende, do you have a moment? Romy said formally. My sister Juno would like to meet you. Understanding now, Blue smiled at Juno, shaking her hand. Hey, nice to meet you at last. You too. Juno's amazed expression was written all over her face as she took in the gorgeous man. Can I call you Blue? Of course. Listen, would you ladies like to grab a coffee? Romy was gesturing wildly behind Juno's back, but Blue didn't understand her signal, and when Juno agreed, a little too enthusiastically, Romy sighed. She knew Juno. Any excuse to stay at Romy's place overnight in the city, especially if there was a chance to gossip. Damn it. They went for a coffee at a little independent place on 6th Avenue. Blue smiled at Juno. So, we're about to be siblings? Looks like. Juno was stuffing a Danish pastry into her mouth. We haven't met your brother yet either. Mom's looking forward to Thanksgiving dinner, just a warning. She cooks Brussels sprouts and given it's, she checked her watch, 2 weeks until Thanksgiving, she'll be putting them on to boil about now. Blue laughed. Duly noted. Dad and I are looking forward to spending that day with you. And your brother? There was a pause, a beat too long. And Gaius. Of course. You don't mention your brother much, Romy said, and saw a flicker of something in his eyes before he gave them a half-smile. We're not as close as you three appear to be. I always wanted a sister. Juno, Romy tells me you're quite the musical prodigy. Ha! Juno grinned at him. She flatters me. But it is my passion, and I'm about to start working for the Gabriella Renault Foundation down in New Orleans. Just when I move back to Seattle, she moves out, Romy grinned. I might take it personally. Then you'll have to make the most of me while I'm here. Like tonight. I could stay over at your place. Juno looked hopeful, and Romy had to work to keep the disappointment out of her face. Of course, Boo. She shot an apologetic look at Blue, who winked at her and mouthed, Don't worry at her. But, Romy added, thinking quickly, I have to be out early tomorrow for a training seminar. All day, I'm afraid. Yes, she does, Blue caught on, trying not to smile. I'm leading that seminar, and I'm very strict about time. One of my things, I'm afraid, punctuality. He is. Juno shrugged, surprisingly clueless. Usually she picked up on these things, with a terrifying radar. What's the training about? Orthopedics, Blue said smoothly, mostly about the recovery time of someone's gait after strenuous exercise. Romy snorted her coffee from her nose and was embarrassed, wiping her nose. Sorry, went down the wrong way. That's not like you, Blue said innocently, and Romy had to hide her laughter in her tissue. Juno still didn't notice anything, already making inroads on Romy's carrot cake, which she'd left alone. Romy, trying to stop her giggles, cleared her throat. So yeah, if you don't mind being left alone in the apartment. Of course not. Juno shrugged. Blue's eyes were twinkling. Don't forget, we also have that patient we might need to check in on overnight too. I'll page you if I need you. Please do, Romy was enjoying their little game. I'd like to make sure the patient is responding to stimulus. It was Blue's turn to hide his laughter now. Do excuse me, I have to use the bathroom. When they were alone, Juno turned to Romy. Well, he's gorgeous and sweet and cute. How do you concentrate on work with a man like that around? A man who will soon be our brother, Romy reminded her, cringing inwardly. She hated lying to Juno, who was so trusting that she would believe anything Romy told her. Also, he's my boss. How flirty, boss. But Juno didn't push it. She gave up on the carrot cake, licking cream cheese frosting from her fingers. Look, maybe I will go home tonight. Seems like you're preoccupied with work anyway. But we must have a sister's night before I leave for New Orleans. Are you going before Christmas? For some reason, Romy was confused about the timeline. Had Juno told her and she'd just forgotten? Only for a couple of weeks, just so Livia can get me trained before she gives birth. Can you believe she's having a baby? I'm just glad she's well enough to. Their friend Livia had been stabbed and shot by a psychopath the year before, and had barely survived. Give her and Knox my love, won't you? Speaking of gorgeous men, Juno muttered, then grinned as Blue returned. It was so good to meet you, bro, but I think I'm going to head back home, leave you your second in command. She threw her arms around his neck and hugged him. Faintly surprised, Blue smiled and returned the embrace. You're coming to Thanksgiving, right? Blue nodded. Just try and stop me. I'm a sucker for overboiled sprouts. Laughing, Juno kissed Romy's cheek and then loped out, garnering the appreciative looks of a table of young men as she walked out of the coffee house. Blue grinned at Romy. So you're free after all? He sat down next to her and slid his hand along her thigh. Romy wiggled with pleasure. Dr. Allende? Yes, Dr. Sass. I believe you prescribed me some full-body therapy earlier, ready to administer the dose? Blue laughed. That was the worst Dr. Dirty talk I've ever heard, but yes, I need to do that immediately. Gaius Eames tapped on his father's office door, not waiting for a reply before he opened it. Hey, Pa. Stuart looked up over from his computer, annoyed. Gaius, why bother to knock if you're just going to come in anyway? Gaius was unrepentant, shrugging as he flopped into the chair opposite his father. I just get into town and that's the greeting I get? What would I have caught you doing? One of your secretaries? That's enough, Gaius. Stuart glared at his eldest son. Gaius grinned widely, knowing his barb had hit home. Geez, Pa, take a chill pill. I was kidding. How is the lovely Magda? Stuart's face softened. She's wonderful, and looking forward to seeing you at Thanksgiving. You are coming, I take it? Gaius nodded. Although Mom's not happy, yes, I'll be there. Stuart sighed. At this point, I really don't care what Hillary thinks anymore, Gaius. She burned her bridges long ago. I don't want to fight, Pa. Gaius held his hands up. So, Thanksgiving. Will I meet the daughters? I've done my research, 2 blondes, 1 brunette. Have they got the same father? I'm just asking, he added as his father looked annoyed, no judgment. As far as I know, yes. Artemis and Juno take after Magda, and Romy after her father, I understand. Anyway, you'll meet all of them then. Have you spoken? To the Italian? Gaius finished his father's sentence. No, but then that's nothing new. Stuart sighed. Blue is your brother, Gaius, and it's about time you both grew up. Gaius stayed silent. He would never ever bond with Blue Allende, and not just because he was his half-brother. The jealous that squirmed in his gut when he thought about Blue's success, his devastating good looks, his decency. Damn. I hear he's working with one of the Sass girls. Stuart nodded. Romy? She's in her last year of residency. Blue says she's the best he's ever seen. Gaius chuckled darkly. Is he sleeping with her? Stuart's blue eyes went gray, and Gaius knew he'd gone too far this time. Don't ever talk about one of Magda's daughters like that again. Ever. Forgive me? Gaius tried to keep the sarcasm out of his voice. Look, I just got into town, can I use the condo? I'm assuming you've moved in with Magda already? Close enough. I spend every night there. Here, Stuart reached into his desk drawer and threw Gaius a set of keys. You know the rules. Pa, you realize I'm 42, right? And Charlie Sheen is 50-something. No tramps, no illicit substances. Not in my condo. Gaius sighed and got up. Fine. Well, I guess I'll see you at Thanksgiving. Stuart relented a little. The man had a soft spot that made Gaius respect him even less. Look, have dinner with me, just me, on Tuesday. Gaius masked a smirk. It's a date. At his father's condo, Gaius unpacked, then grabbed a beer from the refrigerator and stretched out on the couch, flicking through the television channels disinterestedly. It was gnawing at his gut the way his father talked about Blue, the pride, the love in his voice. Gaius had been 17 when his father had revealed his affair with Blue's mother. He hadn't blamed his father for straying, He knew his own mother Hillary hadn't been faithful at any point during his parents' marriage, but he'd resented the fact that there was a child. Blue, 12 at the time that his father brought him into their family, was quiet, kind, intense, and everything Gaius wanted to be. Even as a child, Blue's big green eyes, full of intelligence and compassion, garnered him quick acceptance into their family circle, something Gaius had struggled with. However much Blue had tried to befriend his new brother, Gaius, ridden by jealousy, had been uninterested. Gaius gave a humorless laugh. Now Blue already had an in with his father's new wife, and her daughters too. Unbelievable. Gaius snatched up his iPad and typed a name into the search engine. Dr. Romy Sass. Her photo popped up immediately on the alumni page of Stanford's website. Gaius studied it. Long dark hair fell in waves past her shoulders. She had that soft, wide-eyed look, olive-toned skin, a faint flush in her cheeks, and the fitted white coat hinted at a figure that didn't hurt either. Yeah, Gaius thought. If Blue isn't seeing her, he's missing something. He read everything he could find on her, but oddly there wasn't much. Wasn't it normal for doctors to publish research? So why wasn't her name listed on the Rainier Hope Hospital website? Why only this alumni blurb? Was she trying to keep a low profile? Intrigued, Gaius took out his phone and dialed. Yeah, Greg? It's Gaius Eames. Yes, good. Listen, I have a job for you if you're interested. Yeah, I want you to find out everything you can on a Dr. Romy Sass. She's a resident at Rainier Hope Hospital. Find out what she's hiding, or who she's hiding from.
End of sneak peek for Saved by the Boss, a Doctor Romance, Secret Babies Book 2. Please like and subscribe to support this channel. It helps more than you know.